Anaya is suing her niece, Berlane Johnson, for the return of a car she allowed her to borrow. Berlane says the vehicle was impounded because the registration expired.
Order. All rise. It's case number 544 on the calendar in the matter of Anaya versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Miss Johnson, this is your aunt?
Yes.
You borrowed her car?
Yes.
And you didn't return it?
She let me borrow the car.
Just a second. Just follow my questions.
Yes.
Doesn't require a whole lot of talking. Just requires you answering my questions. You borrowed her car?
Yes.
And you didn't return it?
I tried to.
When did you borrow her car?
September 29th, 2009.
When did you try to return it?
I believe my husband got a ticket for trying to return it.
Got a ticket for trying to return it. Explain that to me.
He was on the way to go give her...
This the husband?
Yes, this is my husband.
Stand.
He was on the way to go give her the vehicle.
Just a second. You weren't there, I assume.
Right.
So you were on your way to return the car when?
The ticket I got was on the 13th of February.
February 13th, you got a moving violation. For what?
For non-registration.
And?
And that was pretty much the only ticket I got for that because I had no valid registration on the vehicle at that time. So I was pretty much bringing the vehicle to the house so we could drop it off there because she wanted the vehicle back. So the only way to get it there was to drive it there besides towing.
Listen to me carefully, sir.
Sorry.
Police stopped you.
Yes.
They gave you a ticket.
Yes.
Then what happened?
He just told me to pretty much...
Don't tell me what he told you.
Okay.
That's hearsay.
I'm sorry.
You got a ticket.
Yes.
You had no valid registration.
No.
Where were you when you got the ticket?
Exiting the 22 freeway on Euclid.
How did you get home?
I took a bus.
Where did you leave the car?
At my job.
At your job?
At my job.
Why didn't you take the car back? I thought you were taking it to Miss Anaya.
I was in the process of taking it there.
No. Your wife says you were going to return the car to her.
Yes.
Well, why didn't you get there? Police didn't take the car.
No, they did not.
They gave you a ticket for not a valid registration.
Yes, they did.
Because the registration had probably expired from the time your wife borrowed the car until February.
Yes.
So why didn't you just drive the car to Miss Anaya's?
I was kind of scared to get another ticket, honestly.
You drove it!
I didn't want to get another ticket, Your Honor. I really didn't. I already got one, and I didn't want to get another one.
Drove it!
I couldn't pay for a towing. I couldn't.
You drove it!
Yes.
So why didn't you just drive it to her house?
Because she...
Don't speak! Why didn't you just drive it to her house?
I was going to. I really was.
I don't care what you were going to do. You went to work.
Yes. I went to work.
That's the
later.
answer.
Yes, I went to work.
Sit.
Okay.
So you were driving the car to work. That's the answer. What time did you get up again? Don't play with me. What time did you get the ticket? I
got the ticket at 9:44. I had to be at work at 11.
And did you get to work that day? Very easy. All I have to just call your boss. Did you get to work that day?
Late. Yes, I did.
Get late or early? You got to work that day.
I did get to work. I did.
And you parked the car there.
Yes, I did.
So you were on your way to work.
Not at that time, Your Honor. I really wasn't. I was in the process of dropping the car and taking the bus from her house to my job. That was the plan. That was the agenda. Where's the car now?
It's in the impound lot.
You have two choices, either pay to get it out or pay for the car. What's your pleasure?
It got impounded for the registration.
It got impounded because you didn't return it. What county do you live in?
We tried to.
What county do you live in?
Orange County.
Does a car, before it's registered, have to be smogged in California?
Yes, it does.
How many years have you lived in California and been old enough to drive?
I've lived in California all my life.
I don't live in California, but I know about California smog. And before you can get a car registered, you got to have it tested if it's over a certain age. And this car was how old?
It's a 96.
So it had to be smogged before it could be registered again. And you knew it because you've been driving it since September.
No, she let me borrow the vehicle until
listen
we had...
to me. You knew that it had no registration because you and or him have been driving it since September. When did the registration expire? It's right on the car.
I gave her money for the registration.
It's right on the car. When did the registration expire?
That I don't know. She has the paperwork. She's the owner of the vehicle.
It's on your car. Because if it's not on your car, how did a policeman stop him for lack of registration?
She didn't have anything in the glove compartment. That's how she loaned it to us. And she threatened to call the cops and say...
Be quiet. Can I have the blue book value on the car, please? Model, year,
This is a copy of it.
I have pictures of the vehicle.
I don't care.
She gave it to me.
I don't care. You didn't like the car, you shouldn't have borrowed it. If you borrow something, you return it.
Your Honor, can I say something?
What do you want?
I lit it in June of 2009.
I have proof in September from my apartment complex where we had to have it registered there.
You picked it up in June.
Listen to me, it doesn't make any difference. She's going to pay you for the car. And then she can do whatever she wants. Sign the title over to her. She wants to get the car out of impound, let her get the car out of impound.
I don't believe I should have to pay that.
Is that reasonable? I don't care what you want.
Would you just please take a look at her pictures of the vehicles? This is the condition she gave it to me.
Listen to me, madam. I don't care what you want. Somebody did something nice for you, and you turned around and you acted irresponsibly, and so did he. Now, do me a favor. You want the value of the car?
Yes.
Fine. Have her sign the title to the car over to the defendant. The defendant can then go pick up the car out of impound.
I don't want her vehicle.
Not.
She can have her vehicle.
Or listen to me. You're going to sign it over to her, and then you can register it in her name.
Okay.
And then you'll have to deal with the impound people. They'll send you a bill.
It was her fault for not registering it. It was her fault for not registering it.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question. Put the pictures down. Just answer one question for me. When did you take the car to be smogged? Just, the answer is May 4th, May 5th, May 9th, June 2nd, or I never did, or I did, but I don't remember what the date was. Those could be the only possibilities. I never took it. I took it, I don't remember the date, or here's the date I took the car to be smogged.
She paid the registration.
That's not what I asked you. That's not one of your choices.
Well, she didn't tell me
That's not door number 1, 2, or 3.
She didn't tell me it had to be smogged, and she didn't tell me to go get it registered.
Yes, you did.
No, you did not.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do. I have 2 autistic children.
Did somebody have to tell you to feed them 3 times a day?
No.
Or do you know that yourself? Just a second. Does somebody have to tell you to put your pants on in the morning, or do you know yourself? You get up in the morning, you take a shower, you put your pants on. Then you know a car has to be smogged in California before it could be re-registered.
I didn't have the paperwork, so I didn't know she had to have it registered.
Don't speak. Then you're not supposed to drive a car. Take a bus. If you're too stupid to take care of it, take a bus. But don't make excuses, because I don't like excuses.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The only thing that's there is the dresser that she left and the television she gave to her brother. And we called her on that, and we told her to come pick it up.
Just call the cops on you if I
came over.
No.
I don't want to hear it.
I let you talk, let me talk.
And later today.
What kind of drugs?
Heroin.
Selling or using?
I got caught using.
You don't happen to have one of those marijuana licenses?
A 215, not yet. I have to renew it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hilda Anaya says her niece, Verlaine Johnson, owes for the value of a Nissan Sentra she borrowed and never returned. Verlaine is countersuing for moving expenses.
Now, somebody did something nice to you because you didn't have a car, and they ended up getting caught behind the 8 ball. Not here. Here, if you do something wrong, you take responsibility and you deal with it. You borrowed a car. He was going to work. He got a ticket. I don't even know what he got a ticket for, because somebody's got to be really have good eyesight to see that a car doesn't have registration on it. It's driving along the freeway.
He's got registration right here.
I didn't ask you a question. So I don't know what he got stopped for. I'm assuming he's telling me the truth, that he got stopped for a lack of registration on the freeway. Now, do I believe that he was taking the car back to her? I do not. I believe he was going to work. I don't know where the car got towed from. I don't care. It's your responsibility. You had the car, according to you, September, October, November, December, January, and part of February. According to her, you had it for more than 6 months. You had it for 8 months. Let's say you had it for 6 months. By that time, it becomes your responsibility to know whether you're a foot or horseback, whether the car needs to be registered or not. It's up to you to be vigilant and to have it done if you're going to drive around in a car.
I gave her money to register the vehicle.
Listen to me very carefully. She can't get it registered without having it smogged. And you had possession of the car.
I did not know it had to be smogged. She didn't even tell me. I gave her the money for it.
And I'm telling you, I don't live here. And I know you can't register a car without having it smogged.
You don't smog it every year. It's every other year.
Do you know when it was smogged?
No,
now you know.
I don't, because she didn't give me any of that information.
Now, you were driving it. You're supposed to know about it, just like you're supposed to know to feed your children 3 times a day.
Well, she didn't give me that information, and I didn't bother
You're an
asking.
idiot. First of all, you have a ridiculous counterclaim with the exception of one thing. you moved in with her, and then you moved out, you gave up your apartment, and you were doing her a favor. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested
in, because I had to uproot my entire family for this.
That's too bad. You're a grown-up girl. Don't uproot yourself to go and move in with her if you don't think it's going to work out. Now, didn't work out, she doesn't pay your moving expenses. The only thing she has to return is your property. If she's withholding your property, that she has to return. You're going to pay her $1,600 for the car. Then the car's going to be yours, whether you like it in impound or not. Now, do you have any property that belongs to her? The answer is either yes or no.
The only thing that's there is a dresser that she left and the television she gave to her brother.
She got rid of some of my other furniture.
Just a second. A dresser and a television.
Yes, and we called her on that, and we told her to come pick it up.
Just a second. Call the cops on me if I came over.
No.
I don't want to hear it.
I let you talk, let me talk.
No, I don't want to hear it. Actually, I don't want to hear it. I have other things to do today.
Okay.
She left your house. She was there a couple of days. She moved in with her husband, the family, whatever. She didn't want to live with you. She would. This was after the car got impounded or before?
This was before the car got impounded.
She left before the car got impounded that she moved in with you?
Yeah, she moved in.
Just a second. Are you telling me that you moved in with her before September of 2009? Is that what we're talking about?
No, ma'am.
When did you move with her?
I moved in December 18th, and we left December 20th because she made it horrible.
Just a second. And you kept her car?
Yes.
And you kept the car. Your counterclaim is dismissed.
She told me that I couldn't drive it for as long as I needed it.
Your counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all. Goodbye.
Please excuse me. Step out.
She's just a controlling person and just wants to control situations.
She's angry. That's it.
The whole woe is me, poor me, nobody wants to help me.
Oh, whatever.
When somebody does, she smacks your hand back.
As of today, she's gone. She's out of my life.
It's done and over with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Romberger versus Myers. Step forward.
25-year-old Kristen Romberger is suing former roommate, 21-year-old Jonathan Myers, for the loss of their security deposit and for damage he caused to the apartment.
Mr. Myers, who do you live with now, sir?
I live with my friend Daniel Randall and one of his coworkers.
Pay rent?
Yes.
How much rent do you pay?
I'm paying $300 right now.
Where are you working?
I was working at Auto One Warranty. Right now I'm looking for a job.
So you're unemployed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
How do you pay your rent?
I do body piercings.
Are you licensed?
You need a license to work in a shop. To be an independent piercer, you just need to know what you're doing.
Is what you're telling me that anybody could do body piercing without being licensed legally in the state of California?
Not in a shop. You need to have a bloodborne...
I didn't ask you about it in a shop. I just asked you whether. Do you know if that's true?
It's true.
This is some place that you can pierce someone's body.
It's like cutting somebody's hair in your kitchen.
Except hair is dead.
I have piercing waivers. I have a bloodborne pathogen certificate. I have TB test. I have like all the things that I would need to work in the shop. I just prefer to work as an independent piercer because...
But if you were licensed, you could have all those choices. Mr.
Absolutely
Myers.
true, if there was such thing as a body piercing license.
Well, what kind of a license do you need to work in a shop?
You don't need a license, really. You just need experience and a bloodborne pathogen certificate.
Bloodborne pathogen certificate. Where did you find him?
We were friends. We met through other friends over 3 years ago. He was working when he moved in with me. He had a job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Could you explain to me what in this person attracted you to live with him for 3 years? Clearly, he's off. Tell me what I'm not seeing, Ms. Brom.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kristen Romberger says ex-roommate Jonathan Myers owes for a security deposit and for damage he caused to their apartment.
Now, it's your claim that when the lease ended, so did the friendship, and he trashed the apartment, and you couldn't get your security deposit back, all of which you paid?
That is correct.
On what date did you leave the apartment?
I left on November 27th.
What date did you leave the apartment, Mr. Myers?
I had until the 30th, and I was going to leave on the 30th, and she came over the afternoon of the 29th, and we had a huge argument.
What did you have an argument about?
She said that I burned one of her finger paintings that was on a wall, and she was upset that I didn't move out already. She wanted me to have been gone so she could clean.
She wanted you to be gone so that she could clean the apartment?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And what did you say to her?
I had an extra day. I was going to be moving the next day. I still had time, and I wasn't able to leave. And it escalated into a big argument, and I had to wind up calling the police because I didn't know what else to do. I was on probation at the time, and I didn't want like any conflict.
For what?
Drugs, Your Honor.
What kind of drugs?
Heroin.
Selling or using?
I used. Or I got caught using.
When?
March 14th, 2008.
And when did you get your blood-borne pathogen certificate?
May?
May what?
08.
So a couple of months after you were arrested for using heroin?
Correct.
Great state of California. You don't happen to have one of those marijuana licenses?
A 215, not yet. I have to renew it.
Now, you have photographs of the apartment?
I have tons of photographs.
I'd like to just see the apartment when he left.
I'll give you the top 5 or 6.
How much was your security deposit?
It was $900. I was charged an additional $4.70 on top of that.
How many cats do you have?
1.
You still have it with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you identify this room, Mr. Mayor?
That's the room that I lived in. That was my room.
What's that all over the floor?
Cat litter, Your Honor.
Who did that?
My cat.
Ms. Romberger, what do you do for a living?
I'm a nurse.
You work at a hospital?
I do.
Same hospital for how long?
3 years.
Could you explain to me what in this person attracted you to sign a lease with him, to live with him for 3 years? He's a heroin abuser, or was. He clearly has a disability because he had a medical marijuana license to be able to purchase it, which he says is now expired, which he must renew, right? Clearly he's off. Tell me what I'm not seeing, Ms. Bromberger.
He was in drug court at the time that we moved in. He was required to have a full-time job, and he was being drug tested and alcohol tested several times a week.
How many times have you been arrested?
Never.
Then why would you want to sign a lease with someone who had been arrested for heroin use? And if you're an intelligent woman, and I assume you are, if you're employed as a nurse, you have to have certain educational background, you have to have certain clinical ability, you have to have certain academic ability. It belies credulity to think that the first time he used heroin, he got arrested. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. It's like the unluckiest robber in the world. The first time they rob somebody, they get caught. Criminals do that because they do it so many times without getting caught that it almost makes it worthwhile. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, you commit 7 or 8 armed robberies, and if you get caught once and you get a slap on the wrist, you know, you figure, listen, system's working in my favor. So clearly you had someone who was a longer-term heroin abuser other than just once. Aside from that, he's involved in some way or another, unless you know of some disability that he has. Do you know of any legitimate disability?
No, Your Honor.
Then somehow he got somebody to write him a fake prescription or a phonied-up prescription for medical marijuana, which is supposed to be used in this jurisdiction for people who suffer from a disability and who can benefit from the use of marijuana in their treatment, not for somebody who wants to get high, right?
Right.
Explain to me what I'm not seeing that an intelligent woman like you saw.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead.
I thought he deserved a second chance. He was in court, and they were keeping a close eye on him. They were drug testing him for alcohol, making sure he had a full-time job, going to meetings. So I thought he deserved a chance. He needed to get out of where he was living, and so did I. So we moved in together.
Mm-hmm. Do you still speak to him?
I do not.
That's good. You left your room like a pig, Mr. Mayor. You're owing $900. That's all. Out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He didn't clean up his share of the apartment at all.
Because I already paid to get the carpets cleaned.
There was much more than carpet cleaning that needed to be done.
We got in a fight, and I was like, I'm not even going to clean it up if I already paid for the carpet cleaning.
There was a lot of other damage to the apartment besides the carpet.
Friendships don't last forever. Things can always go wrong.
I can't depend on him at all. He just takes and doesn't give back.
One-year-old student Ben Ahrens is suing 18-year-old college football player Brian Payton for beating him up during a night of heavy drinking. Adam Spear has a separate lawsuit against Ben Aarons for vandalism to his car.
Yeah, this is case number 50 on the calendar, the matter of Aarons versus Payton. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. You folks have a seat, please.
All right, Mr. Aarons, it is your claim that Mr. Payton assaulted you.
Correct.
There is sort of a companion case here that I will address either during this case or at some point immediately after, involving a Mr. Spear. Is that you?
That's correct.
And you weren't actually there during the course of this whole event, but you allege your car got damaged by Mr. Aarons while he was drunk. When did this assault take place, sir?
The assault itself occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was with my friends.
I need a date, sir.
December 18th.
12/18/04.
Correct.
Where were you?
I was in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel, located in Corvallis, Oregon.
What were you doing there?
My friend had a party right next door. It was his birthday party.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
10 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Roughly 8.
A lot of drinking.
Yes, we were all over 21.
I didn't ask how old you were. I said there was a lot of drinking.
Yes, there was a lot of drinking.
What were you drinking then?
I was drinking Miller Lite.
Nothing other than beer?
Correct.
And what happens?
We were outside, out front. There's a fence separating his house and the parking lot. And we were out front there. I was with my friends, Jason. Well, they're actually acquaintances. About 3 girls came out of the Hilton Hotel. At that point, we called over to them to come over and talk to us. So they came over to where we were.
What did you say to them?
I don't exactly remember exactly what we said, but we said, hi, what's going on tonight? What are you guys doing at the Hilton? At that point, approximately 3 to 4 men came out of the hotel and immediately came over to where we were. Mr. Payton targeted me specifically, and he started going after me. I could tell he wanted to fight. He was very aggressive towards me.
Well, tell me what he did, sir.
He said as soon as he came out of the hotel, he said that he saw me looking at him and saluting in a Hitler-like way. I don't know what he was talking about.
Do you know what he's talking about, Mr. Payton?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
What is he talking about, Mr. Payton?
When I walked out of the hotel, we walked over to the young ladies, and they seemed upset, so I walked over and asked him to stop, and he was on the other side of the fence, and he gave me one of those.
Can I interject at this point?
What were you doing at the Hilton Hotel that evening?
The dorms were closed at our university, and I was staying there for a school function.
Okay. And what time had you started drinking that night?
I'm 18 now. I didn't drink.
Okay, Ben. So you're outside.
And I'm speaking with my friends. It becomes a verbal altercation at that point. So I came over to the fence.
So you jumped over the fence?
Correct, yes.
Why didn't you just go home like you were planning to go?
I wasn't planning on going home that night.
Well, what were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just out front of his house so that we didn't wake up his friends.
I don't understand that, Ben. You were outside because you were making too much noise to be inside?
That would be correct, yes. At that point, I explained to him what I was doing.
What did you mean you explained to him? What does that mean, I explained to him?
I told him, I repeated the motion of this. I told him that's the only thing I could have possibly done at that point when he came outside. I told him that. He said, okay, that's all right. And then we shook hands. We exchanged names. We asked them what they were doing, and they said they were going to go and get beer and food. So they got in their car, and they took off. They came back about 10 minutes later, maybe 15 minutes later, and we were still outside.
What were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just sitting on the curb. There's a curb. We were just sitting there. We were just talking amongst ourselves.
Go ahead.
The 3 girls that were with them, I believe they went straight into the hotel, or
they didn't want to talk to you anymore.
I don't know if they didn't want to talk to us anymore, or if they were just
They didn't want to talk to you anymore. They went right inside.
They went inside.
Go ahead.
Peyton and his friends, they stayed with us out there, and we talked. And at that point, there became a verbal altercation between Mr. Peyton and one of the witnesses, Brown. And I believe it was over food. I believe he asked them if they brought him any food back.
Where is Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown is unable to come.
So he's not a witness?
Okay.
Because he's not here.
Okay.
So Mr. Brown, one of your friends, asked Mr. Peyton...
Well, he wasn't my friend, he was my acquaintance.
Your acquaintance?
Correct.
On your curb?
Yes.
Asked Mr. Peyton how come they didn't bring him back any food?
Yes.
You think that was because Mr. Brown maybe had a little too much to drink?
Possibly, yes.
Keep going.
So at that point, there was a verbal altercation between him and Mr. Peyton, and I believe Jason might have gotten involved in it a little bit. At that point, I got up and I got in between them, and I pushed them aside, and then I'm not sure exactly what he did. That's about where my memory ends. Shortly after that point, it was because he had struck me to the face. I received a massive concussion. I have photos here if you'd like at this time. You can take a look at that. I fell back. I hit the concrete. I lost about 1.5 pints of blood. You can see my cheek there. It was possibly dislocated.
Looked like you fell back really hard.
Yes. At that point, I had a concussion. I do not remember anything from that point on.
Now, Brian.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Like you said, the young ladies did come out the...
Why don't we start with the young lady?
Oh, okay then.
Because you weren't there. The young lady was there first. Is
Can
that
I
right?
interject at this point?
No.
Okay.
You came out at some point of the Hilton Hotel.
Yes. Ben and his friends were yelling at us, and...
What were they yelling?
To come over and, like, what were our names, and we could tell that they were very intoxicated. And then the boys came out and were like, these guys won't leave us alone. They keep yelling at us, and they're very intoxicated. And so I believe that Brian asked them to leave us alone.
Did you go out with Brian and his friends for some food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
What happened when you came back?
We got out of the car, and they started yelling and stuff like that, and then Ben started beating the car. And the car alarm...
Whose car was it?
Your
car. He started beating with what? With his fists?
Mm-hmm. And the car alarm was going off. All of us actually asked him numerous times to stop it, and he wouldn't. Brian went up to him to get him to stop, and Ben turned around really fast, and his fist came up, and so Brian obviously felt threatened if he was beating the car this much, and so Brian hit him, and he fell back on the ground and hit his head.
Okay. The police were called?
Yes.
You have the police report?
I have the police report. And
I'd like to see
something
it,
I could say. The police interviewed all the witnesses.
I'd like to see both police reports, and Ben, I can read. You don't have to tell me what it says.
Can I just point one out thing, though, please?
Yes?
They interviewed all the witnesses there, and they took down their names. Her name's nowhere in the police report.
Well, it may not be in the police report, but did they take down the names of the 3 girls who were...
No, they did not.
Well, so?
I don't recognize her at all. I'm not sure who she is. They interviewed everyone who was there at the time of the incident.
Listen to me. You were so blind drunk, not a question in my mind, that you wouldn't know her if she came up and bit you in the behind. You said there were 3 girls that came out. It's my job to ascertain who tells the truth and who lies. She told a very cogent story. There is no reason to say that she's lying about being one of the 3 girls that came out that night that spoke to you.
Why didn't the police interview her then?
I have no idea, sir. I have enough trouble figuring out why I'm here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We were drinking, him included. He started picking a fight. I can quote him on, I can kick 2 of your guys' right now. And,
hands off your hips.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ben Aaron says, during a night of partying, he was assaulted by college football player Brian Payton. Brian says Ben was drunk and out of control. In a separate lawsuit, Adam Spear is suing Ben Aarons for denting his car.
How did you get the injuries to your hands, sir? How did you get the injuries?
I didn't have any injuries on my hands.
I noted that Mr. Aarons had injuries to both of his hands. He had abrasions and red marks on his fingers that were consistent with him striking something.
This is the photograph of the injury to my hands. This is the dent that my hands allegedly created.
That's one hand. I'll take a look at it. Absolutely.
If you look in the report, it says injuries to both hands.
Right.
If there is injury to both hands, you would see it. The only thing that photo shows is a red strap mark from where I was strapped into the stretcher. You can see that.
No. Police officer noted, sir, that there were massive dents on a car. That would be Mr. Spear's car. And the police officer said to you, did you strike that car? And you said, I don't remember. That was the answer that you gave to the police.
Correct.
Police also said that in addition to beer, you drank liquor.
Yes.
That's what you told the police.
Okay, yes.
You didn't remember to tell me that.
I'm sorry.
Police officer also noted that you and your friends were all drunk. Right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Could I interject with one more thing, please? I have a medical report from when I was there. They did a full body analysis on me. There is nothing in there about any injury to my hands. The only thing I could have imagined that he would have seen is I have a medical injury.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You hit his car. You were drunk, and you fisted his car. You may not remember it, but that's what you did. That's what happens when you drink too much. Ben?
Allegedly, yes.
That's what happens when you drink too much, sir. You act goofy and stupid. You try to pick up girls that don't want to have anything to do with you. You hang around where you shouldn't be hanging around outside. And you act goofy and stupid. And you get yourself into trouble when you drink too much. Isn't that right?
Not entirely, no.
Well, you were acting goofy and stupid, too, according to the police report. All of his friends were drunk.
Oh, does it specify my name in there?
Were you at the party?
Yes, I was.
And you weren't drunk.
They didn't take individual
I
statements.
didn't ask you that question, sir. I said...
I was drinking, but I was not drunk, Your Honor. I'm here for a reason. I'm not his friend. I met him that night.
Good.
I'm here because I can remember things. Everybody else there was too wasted.
Why? She wasn't wasted.
Huh? I'm talking at
This
the
young,
party
just
that we were
listen.
there.
This young lady isn't wasted, sir.
And you know what? She also wasn't there at the moment of the assault.
Step up. Step up. Go ahead.
Kind of twisted that around a little bit. I'm not denying that he hit any car.
Good.
I didn't.
So let's start
Okay,
there.
let's start
Let's
there.
start there. He hit the car.
I did not see him hit the car, no.
So you weren't there the entire
No.
time?
No, I was outside most of the time. I was inside for maybe 3 minutes the whole time.
He was there when I actually got hit. And
I was there and witnessed the assault.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Okay.
Take your hands off your hips.
We were standing there having drinks. His friends and him among us had beer. They brought a case of beer. We were drinking, him included. He, Mr. Payton, was pretty hot-headed the whole time. The moment he came up, he started picking a fight with me and Brown, who's not here today. I can quote him on, you guys are pretty stupid. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to sit here and drink with you. I'm going back to my hotel. I can kick 2 of your guys' right now. That set me, who's pretty hot-headed, if you can't tell, and Brown off. We kind of got up in his face, and he did the same. Some words were said. That's when Ben said he came up and tried to break up the thing. He went back to the hotel for a while with the girls. We still hung out with his 2 other friends. He came back out. And
Hands off your hips.
all right. He came back out. Some more words were said. Ben, at the time, was sitting on the curb drinking a beer. He stood up. Ben wasn't even looking at him. We were all talking. He walked over to Ben and cheap-shotted Ben in the jaw.
So after they left, instead of going back to the house, you stayed in the parking lot. You remember why?
It's a place to sit. We were there already. I can just stay where I want, I believe. It's not against the law.
I love it when it all comes together. Just let him talk. Right?
That's what you do best.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Here's your problem, sir. Your problem is the statement that you made to the police. And the sum and substance of that statement was that he was loud and obnoxious and drunk.
Yes.
And he kept hitting on Mr. Spears' car.
Correct.
And you told him to stop. And he walked away, and he came back and he hit the car again. And then you hit him.
That's basically, yes, what happened. I didn't intentionally walk to him to hit him. Like, I came back around the vehicle because I walked through the back of the vehicle towards the Hilton.
Whatever. Let me tell you what you said to the police,
Okay.
Mr. Payton. You said to the police, I told him to knock it off. Mr. Payton said that he started to walk away twice, and each time Mr. Aarons began striking the vehicle again. Mr. Payton said that he told Mr. Aarons one last time to quit striking the vehicle, and when he failed to stop, he hit him.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Payton how many times he hit Mr. Aarons, and he said twice. And that you struck him both times in the face.
Yes.
And you said you were shocked that he fell down because you didn't think you'd hit him that hard. Well, but he was drunk.
Yeah.
Now you can stand up. I'm going to hear this other case. You want to get that folder now because I don't have to hear it twice. I've just heard the facts of the case. This is Spear against Aarons.
Case number 49.
Very good. You have an estimate for the damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Would you like the court fees that it's been costing me?
No, just the damage to the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's Mr. Norris? Is he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you what Mr. Norris told the police. It says in the police report, this is the interview. Mr. Norris stated that after Mr. Payton told Mr. Arans 3 different times to stop hitting the car, he walked up and struck him in the face.
Yeah, I'm not denying that I hit him.
You can't do that. Brian, you can't do that. Now, do you have any unreimbursed medical bills, sir?
Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am.
Hand them up. These are all unreimbursed medical bills, is that right?
Correct.
You had no insurance?
My insurance was denied, yes, no insurance.
You go to school full time?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. You have a job?
No, ma'am.
You can't hit somebody because they're damaging property. He has over $5,000 in unreimbursed medical bills. You have to take care of that. I say this to you, sir, that I think you behaved badly that night, but for the fact that this young man had no right to hit you, believe me, you would leave here today without a judgment. But the law is clear. You cannot defend somebody else's property with physical violence. So I'm awarding you your judgment of $5,000. You are entitled to that. On your claim, I'm awarding you a judgment against Mr. Arans for $1,500 so that you can fix your car. Anything you want to say to me?
I have right here a list of all the instances where people were hit by OSU football players in the past several months here. And I believe that this shows that there's a lot of animosity from athletes who are out of line and out of control. This happened at 3 a.m. past curfew.
Listen to me, sir. I have no particular axe to grind. I don't even like athletes. What I don't like are young people who get so drunk that they can't remember what's happened. According to the police, according to the doctor, you reeked of alcohol, you had no memory of the assault because you were drunk. Because if you had had any kind of negative vibes with them during the course of the evening, and if you were sober, I can't believe you would be stupid enough to sit in the parking lot of the hotel where they were staying, not you. That's what you keep wanting to answer me, sir, and I'm telling you, that's what happens when you're drunk and stupid. Bad things happen. That doesn't mean he had the right to assault you. It just means that your actions, your purposeful actions in consuming too much alcohol was the proximate cause of all of these events that spiraled out of control that night. And if that's the way you can consume your alcohol, I suggest to you that you don't drink anymore. This case is over. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, they give me one of these. It's not, I'm not dumb. I'm not going to mistake one of these for, come on over here, have a drink.
It was dark. It was night. It was 3 a.m. I don't think he can see that far.
We wanted nothing to do with him and his drunk friends.
I'm definitely going to reconsider, what I do with my life, but, it's too bad that stuff like this has to happen.
My car was damaged and paint chips were on the ground and I couldn't believe what happened.
I do not believe that I can physically do those dents to someone's car. If I am, I guess I'm Superman.
Parties on Lake versus McConnell. All parties on Lake versus McConnell. Step forward, please.
46-year-old Donald Lake is suing 25-year-old supermarket checker Shannon McConnell, claiming she gave him the wrong change. Shannon says Lake was rude, and he got his money.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is number 62 on the calendar in the matter of Lake versus McConnell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Lake, I am baffled by your lawsuit, so I am hoping, sir, that you are going to be able to explain to me why you believe that this young lady should give you $2,500.
As a consumer in a very aggressive area, retail grocery, as a consumer there where...
Why don't you tell me the story, sir?
The story is...
Yes, tell me about the lawsuit.
The lawsuit itself concerns...
Put your papers down, put your briefcase down, and just relax and tell me the story.
The story, which I have the physical evidence here, is that as a consumer, on Christmas Eve of last year, I entered with a companion at a certain grocery store in the San Diego County area. With that, and with my companion, we went through the cash-only line. My companion went first. She bought a couple of items. She was waiting right there on Christmas Eve for me to go through. Body language that she was ready to go, keys in her hand, tapping her foot. It was a very rush type of thing. I come in with one item in the cash line. I go ahead and confront the cashier with...
That's this young lady
yes,
here.
Ma'am. A person who I now know the first and last name of. At that time, she was wearing a name tag with just her first name and last initial. At that time, right here on the receipt...
You gave her your item. What did you buy, sir?
I bought one bottle of champagne.
Okay, you bought a bottle of champagne, and you gave her money.
Not only did I give her money, but before I gave her money, I said, I have two $20 bills and a 50.
Well, why would you say
Shut up!
Pardon me.
You gave her two $20 bills and a 50. And how much was the champagne?
You can see the attitude of the store.
Hey, just a second. Mr. Lake, answer my questions,
yes,
please.
ma'am.
How much was the bottle of champagne, sir?
The bottle of champagne with the tax and everything else came out to $4.30. I asked Ms. McConnell, can you break a 50? I told her I have two 20s and a 50. She said yes. I handed her a $50 bill, a quarter, and a nickel, $50.30 for a $4.30 purchase.
So what happened? Come on, speed
What
up the
happened
story.
was, with my companion waiting to go, rushing off for...
I heard the companion. What happened with the money and the champagne? Come on.
The money in the champagne is, I got the champagne, but I didn't get all the money.
Okay, so you say that she shortchanged you in the change, is that right?
She went ahead and counted out $50 in cash as a count back. I grabbed it and the receipt, stuffed it in my pocket, and left. Very soon after, in the same part of town, I had another cash transaction. I got out my cash. The receipt read clearly, cash tended, $40.30.
Okay.
I went back within half an hour of making my purchase. I confronted her and I said, have you taken in any $50 bills recently? And she said, no. This is within minutes after the transaction.
Okay, so what happened? Come on.
What happened was that talking to various store officials, including one Dean Honda, and
you talked to people at the store.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get your $10 back?
I got the $10 back after a lot of arguing, and I also got the corporate phone up here in LA County.
Mr. Lake, so you went in, you gave her money, you realized sometime later when you were making a purchase that she had given you, according to you, $10 less in change than you should have gotten. So far as that, make it fast?
Yes.
You went back to the store. At first, they didn't think that they had made a mistake, but ultimately that evening, they gave you the $10, correct?
After a lot of arguing, yes.
So you had a lot of arguing, whatever. That evening, they gave you back the $10.
That's correct.
So why are we here?
On principle. She still has her job. She has not, to the best of my knowledge, been reprimanded, and the store has tolerated outright theft. This is not my opinion. This is physical evidence. They tolerated outright theft. It's not my fault that she wanted some kind of a Christmas bonus on her own as an individual employee. In an industry that from the top constantly cheats consumers through price fixing, that store managers constantly take items off of sale on their computers. We have, in addition to that, employees working on their own, taking money out of my pocket. The principle of the thing is we have theft, we have denial of the theft, and we have zero cooperation from the corporation.
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many lawsuits have you filed with regard to this particular incident?
One.
And this is the only one?
Yes, ma'am.
Never filed any lawsuits against her because she has a counterclaim against you for a variety of things, including abusive process, which is really the basis of your lawsuit, although you don't couch it in that language. She says that you've sued her at various times, and she'll tell me about that. You've also slandered her, which you did right now. You said she was a thief.
And I stand by that.
May cost you money, Mr. Lake. You understand that?
I stand
because
by
now
it.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Then I'll get to you. Okay, fine. It was Christmas Eve.
Yes, ma'am.
Store was busy?
Relatively so, yes.
And there were a lot of people online waiting, which is why you went to the cash line?
No, it was well staffed. They had a fair amount of employees waiting on people, so it was busy, but it wasn't real crowded, or there was not a long line.
Okay. And you came to her, and what you said to her was, I have two 40s or a $50 bill. Two 20s or a $50 bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why would you say you had two 20s if the whole champagne was only $4?
I wanted to know, in the cash line,
yeah.
You know, I went through the cash line because I had one item in cash.
No, Mr. Lake, you're not following me, sir. If I had a 20 and a 50 and I was buying a $4 item, I might say, can you cash a 50? I have a 50 or a 20. Can you cash a 50? You told me that you said to her, I have two 20s and a 50.
Because I had just pulled it out and I was looking at it and communicating right off the cuff at that moment.
So what you did, what you're saying to me, Mr. Lake, is, since you must agree with me that that was sort of a silly thing to say, I have two 20s to pay for a $4 item or a 50. I mean, that was kind of ridiculous, right? Mr. Lake, is that kind of ridiculous to say I have two 20s to pay for a $4 item, or I have a $50 bill?
That's the items that I pulled out. That's the cash I had on hand.
Well, who cares what cash you had? What if you had a $1,000 bill? She doesn't care what cash you had on hand. You had a 20 and a 50. You could have paid with either one.
I had a couple
so
of 20s.
Can you say, did you ever say I made a mistake? Did you ever say that in your life?
Often.
Very good. Well, so you made a mistake. You should have said, I just have a 20 and a 50. Can you cash the 50?
Well, if I had more time, if it wasn't a rush situation, maybe I would have.
Now we're getting there, Mr. Lake.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do I look like I need help?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shannon McConnell, a supermarket cashier, disputes Donald Lake's accusations that he was shortchanged.
So you made a mistake because it was rushed, because you were taking out your money fast, because you had somebody waiting for you, and there were a lot of people behind you waiting to get checked out. So you made a mistake. Why wouldn't you give this young lady, and I haven't heard from her yet, the benefit of the doubt? Why do you ascribe to her malevolence, criminal activity, when it could have been an honest mistake?
That's a very good question.
I'm waiting for your very good answer. Now you're taking time to think about it, Mr. Lake, because you're going to think about a good response to me.
I can tell you right now, two good responses.
Yes.
Response number one, she counted back $50, not $40, in her count back. Number two, a few minutes later, she denies ever having the $50 bill in the first place.
Okay,
Had she said right then and there, oh, you know, if she'd apologized, if she would have helped me confer with the manager. I mean, up until I got the money back that night, she was fighting the manager. If she would have admitted her mistake, that would have been fine.
Mr. Lake, you don't think as a consumer you made a mistake by taking the money when she counted out the money and not looking at it? Not saying, I gave her a $50 bill, let me just check my change, instead of taking your change and just putting it in your pocket. Don't you have any responsibility to do that right at that moment?
Whatever responsibility I had with that, I took care of it as soon as possible.
No, you didn't. If you had taken care of it immediately while you were right there, you would have said, look, the bill right there on top, that 50 is mine. Instead, you walk out of the store after she counted out your money. Then you come back a half hour later after you've made another purchase someplace else and say, now, Christmas Eve, I want you to remember that I gave you a $50 bill. Hold it. Go.
From the beginning?
Well, if there's anything that he's left out from the beginning, I'd like to hear you.
Okay, when we went to the cash line, it was extremely busy.
How long have you been working at this store?
Since 1985. Well, not this particular store, for the company since 85. After I checked him out, I went on a 10-minute break. After I came back from the break, I went to another register. So when he approached me, he didn't ask me in a calm manner. He came up screaming a 20, a 10, a 5, and a 1, saying that that's a change I gave him. Asked if he'd taken any 50s lately, being that I had just returned from a break, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I was on a new register where his 50 would have been on the old register, so I didn't recognize him from the prior exchange, because they had been so busy. I had hundreds of customers that day. I didn't recognize him, so I thought the only thing that came to mind was maybe he was wanting a nice, clean $50 bill to give as a gift. So I was saying, I don't think so, but I can check. And as I'm saying, I can check, see if there's one in the drawer. That's when he started going, there's 20, a 10, and a 5, and a 1. And then at that point, the manager came over to see what the commotion was about. The manager did not argue. I did not argue because I didn't know what it was about. The manager took the receipt, said, you were short of $10. He said yes. He took him over to the courtesy desk. At that time, he just gave him the $10, no questions asked, really. It was a matter of minutes till he got his $10 back. And at that point, Mr. Lake took the $10, waving in the air, screaming, don't go through Shannon's line. She has my money. She'll take your money.
Did you do that, sir?
Not all of those things.
Yes, sir.
I did some of them.
Ma'am, this is Jackie here.
Were you there that evening?
Yes, when her and I came back from our breaks, just coincidentally at about the same time, she opened up on the register right next to me, and the way our register is set up is her customers' backs are to me, and my back is to them. Okay, so I heard a 20, a 10, real loud, and I turned around, stopped checking, turned around, and looked at Shannon, and then he goes up to the service desk with the manager and gets his $10. He has it in his hand, waving it. She stole my money. I mean, Christmas Eve is the second busiest day of the year. I've been working there for 22 years. I've never seen anything like this before in my life, the whole time. And he was waving the $10, saying she stole it. The customers eventually, he was there for probably 5 to 7 minutes, yelling and carrying on in front of the store. So all of her fellow employees heard every check stand was open. All the customers were, it was very busy. Him saying it wasn't that busy, relatively. Anyway, so the customers finally started saying, we don't want you here. Go back to where you came from. We like our store. We like Shannon. And he left. That's how it was. I saw the whole thing. I stopped checking to watch it because I've never seen anything like it.
Shannon, how many times have you been to court with regard to this case?
This is my third time.
Tell me about the first 2 times.
The first time I went,
You were served with a summons?
Yes. I went.
What was he suing for that?
The first time was criminal and commercial theft, deceit, and fraud. That was the first one. I went there and Mr. Lake failed to appear. I thought that was the end of it. I thought maybe he realized that this was a ridiculous case, and that was it.
Which court did you go to?
San Diego, Claremont.
Does that sound familiar to you, sir, that you filed a case there?
Yes, it did, and she was not serviced.
Just a second.
There was no service done.
I was there when he served the papers, and you did serve her, and you stood behind her and watched her check for about 10 minutes after you served her. You served her personally.
And
Just a second. And did you serve her?
No, I cannot serve. Service
Exactly.
must be done.
Just listen to me. Just a second. You served her. You gave her the papers.
Yes, I did, and that is not service. Service must be a third party.
So why did you serve me?
Hey, do I look like I need help? Do I look like I need help?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're really ticking me off, sir. You're really ticking me off, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Lake, the former educator, wants supermarket checker Shannon McConnell to pay for his trouble when he claims he was shortchanged at her supermarket.
Mr. Lake, so let me understand this, sir. You did, in fact, give her papers with regard to this first suit that she's talking about, but...
Yes, I did.
And what you're saying is that it's a question of semantics, because since you, as a party, cannot serve her, a third party must serve her. It was invalid service, and therefore she was not served.
Also, ma'am...
Am I right?
That's correct.
Good! Now,
And...
say nothing. You're really ticking me off, sir. You're really ticking me off, sir. So you didn't appear in that action because you say she wasn't served. Is that correct?
That's partially correct.
Did you appear in that action?
No, I did not.
Then I'm correct.
You're partially correct.
I'm always correct, sir. The question is, she went to court because she was given papers. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know that if a third person doesn't serve, it's not considered good service, so she didn't want to be in default. She went to court, and you didn't.
Also, the paperwork was given to Shannon M. I was trying to find out her last name so that she could be serviced correctly.
All right, so now we have one lawsuit that you filed that you didn't follow through with, and she went. When was the next lawsuit?
The next one was 2 months later. we went again, and at that point, we found out that not only did he have my court case, he had 2 other cases in the courtroom next door. Obviously can't be in 2 courtrooms at one time, so he denied having the pro tem hear our case. So perhaps you could go to the other cases. So
Let me understand this so that I make it simple. When you showed up in court on the next court date after you were properly served, I assume, Mr. Lake, you had 3 actions pending on the same day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you had to choose which case you would hear that day because you couldn't be in 2 courtrooms at the same time. So you said, I don't want a lay judge to hear my case. In her case, adjourn it to another day. Is that what happened?
No, ma'am.
Then let me hear.
I said I don't want a lay judge, a person who is not culpable to the Performance Review Board on any of my cases. That is a constitutional right.
And this is the 3rd case, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Are you ready?
I think so.
Are you ready?
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Mr. Lake, in the year and a half that I've been handling cases in this court, I have never imposed the judicial sanction of fines for abusive process, fines that have been paid to the court for wasting court time. Now, I am dismissing your lawsuit because your lawsuit is frivolous. And not only is it frivolous, but this is the 3rd time that you have abused the people of this state by taking up judicial time and manpower in filing it. There is no question that there was, based upon what I've heard, an honest mistake. You, sir, are a suer, which means you like to sue people. And maybe you get off on that, but I'm telling you right now that the judicial system in this country will not tolerate those people who abuse it, because if you abuse it, people who have a real case can't get court time because the courts are clogged with this kind of frivolous nonsense. Now, say nothing, Mr. Lake. You already said too much. Now, with regard to this lawsuit, her counterclaim, I'm awarding you. You are asking for $1,400. Right. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And I'm also going to exercise my discretion and award you $2,500.
Wow.
All right? And I am imposing sanctions, Mr. Lake, costs upon you that are to be paid to the court in the amount of $500 because you have abused me, and I resent it. Not only have you abused her, but I resent the fact that you have abused the court system. That's all.
Step out. Back up to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
I knew I would win, but I didn't know that she would feel so strongly as to his abuse in the system.
My reaction is that for a law degree, for a person who has been a judge and everything, she doesn't know much about the Constitution of the United States. As far as being cheated by the employee, what do I have to do? Do I have to go around with a camcorder on my head when I want to buy something? I think I need to go off and buy another glass of, another bottle of champagne at a different grocery store.
He's on Cooper versus Campbell. Step forward, please.
Babysitter Carrie Cooper is suing Catherine Bennett Campbell for unpaid fees. But Catherine says Carrie neglected and humiliated her son by leaving him sitting in his soiled clothes for 2 hours.
Order. All rise. All rise, please. Jones, please. Judges, number 36 on the calendar, the matter of Cooper versus Campbell. All parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this case presents a serious problem that a lot of working people have, especially working moms, who have to find appropriate daycare for their children. According to this complaint, Ms. Campbell, you hired the plaintiff to take care of your children while you were working.
That's correct.
How long did she care for your children?
I believe a little over 2 years. I'm not exactly sure.
And how many children did she care for?
She cared for 2 of my children. I have only 2 children.
How old are they? Your son, who's 5.
My son is 5, and my daughter, who's here today as a witness, she is 7.
And there came a time when you became dissatisfied with her service. According to your answer, terminated the service. But according to your complaint, she did not pay you for the last month. Is that correct?
Correct.
Which was $450.
Correct.
So, let me hear what happened.
I provided a service to Mrs. Campbell for the month of April. There had been problems previously for months with her son having uncontrollable bowel movements, and I had suggested several times on occasion for her to have him evaluated, and she disregarded that.
Oh, that's not true,
Just a
Terry,
second.
and you know it.
According to these papers, Ms. Cooper, you were aware of the fact that her son had some serious problems.
Right.
What kind of problems does he have?
My son is learning disabled. We believe he has ADHD, and also he's been diagnosed with stress-related seizure disorder.
And according to your papers, he did have a couple of grand mal seizures.
He's had 2 grand mal seizures. The first occurred the first day of preschool. The second occurred in Carrie Cooper's residence.
And the ADHD is attention deficit
hyperactivity
attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Correct.
And you were aware of that he had
yes.
these problems. So he soiled himself while in your care.
Right.
Twice.
Twice? No, this has been going on. It was
No, it was the third time. It was the third time.
It was more than 3 occasions.
No, it wasn't.
Don't interrupt. So what happened on the day that precipitated this
was
lawsuit?
At 3 p.m., April 30th. I proceeded to call Kathy at her place of employment.
At 3 o'clock, the little boy soiled himself.
Right.
And you called her at her job.
Yes.
What
and
time
asked-
does she usually come to pick up the children?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
So I proceeded to ask her if she could make arrangements for somebody to come pick him up.
No, you didn't.
Listen, I'm going to get to you in a second.
I called her, notified her of the problem, asked if somebody could come pick him up. I didn't have another diaper to change him or a change of clothes. She said he would have to stay like that.
You're not helping yourself.
Okay.
Okay?
He would have to stay like that until she got there. At which time, I put him in the hallway because I have tile there. I have carpet everywhere else. I put him in the hallway to wait for his mother.
How did you put him in the hallway?
I just had him sit on the floor in the hallway.
Well, describe this place to me.
Okay, my front door, then the hallway, then you go into my living room. The hallway is all tile. And I had him sit there instead of the carpet so my carpet wouldn't get soiled.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do. I have 1 child.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
How old?
5.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Why didn't you take off those soiled clothes from the little boy? And at least for the 2 hours that he was waiting, why didn't you put on a pair of your daughter's overalls, something?
I just did when I called her and asked her to come get him, I did what she told me to do.
No, Miss Cooper, I'm talking about humanity. I'm not talking about what she told you to do. She called her at work and you said somebody has to come and get him. Well, this is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not easy on a moment's notice to get somebody to come over and pick up the boy. These were children that you had watched for 2 years. You have a child of similar age, who I'm sure has a pair of sweatpants, because girls always have sweatpants, just like boys do. Take off the diaper or the pull-ups that he was wearing. I don't know, burn them, do whatever you want to do with them. And in the meantime, until she gets there, put something of your daughter's on. Why couldn't you do that? Instead of putting him out in a hallway.
Since I started watching the kids, he was potty trained. I never agreed on changing diapers. She knew of the problem. She knew that I wasn't going to do that. That's why every time it happened, I called her at work, and either her husband or herself would come pick him up.
What do you mean you never agreed? Children have accidents.
I understand that.
And you mean if a child has an accident, you don't take care of that?
Yes, I do.
Well, then so what was the problem here? If you wanted to terminate this and say, listen, after today, I'm not taking care of him anymore, I could understand that. My problem, Ms. Cooper, is it's very traumatic for a child. I know I've had children, and it's very traumatic for a child to be left that way, humiliated in a hallway alone. A 5-year-old has the cognitive ability to understand what you're doing. It seems to me there's a certain lack of humanity in not taking care of the problem and then saying, at the end, of the day, Miss Campbell, I can't, I won't, I don't want to take care of your children anymore because this is a problem that I don't want to have to deal with.
I had told her that 2 weeks prior to that.
But still, you continue to take care of the children, right?
Right.
But you can say, I'm not going to do it anymore without taking it out on the child. The child is the one who's traumatized. She may feel very badly about her son, but it's the child himself who's left with that feeling, that terrible moment of being in a hallway because he soiled himself, especially when he has the kinds of problems that this little boy has. Who's wrong? All right, Miss Campbell, I see you're real upset.
I want to tell you, first of all, she handed me his clothes in a clean bag. The difference between the other two incidents and this, he was wearing a pull-up. All she had to do was take off the pull-up and clean him up, put his clean clothes back on him. She's lying. Those clothes were in a bag. My daughter's here. She knows the story. When I walked up, he was standing by the front door. The neighborhood children had gathered, and they were laughing at my son. I will never in my life forget the look on his face.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My son is going into therapy June 19th for what she did to him, okay? It wasn't a safe environment at all.
And later today.
You owe me my money. Or you gotta pay me.
Well, I'm not going to pay you because you still owe me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
He was standing in the hallway like she said, but you could see him. I could see him in the corner with his head down. When he came out to me, his pull-up had been on him for 2 hours. It was sagging. He had only a t-shirt on. She had just bagged up his clean clothes because she simply did not want to deal with the situation.
Those weren't clean clothes.
They were clean clothes.
Shh, sir.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I had to say something.
Well, then you step up here. You want to come up here and say something? I'll hear you.
They were not. They were soiled clothes from days
Stop.
before.
Miss Campbell, why don't you say anything?
She doesn't bring diapers. She had bring clothes before, but they had been soiled in prior. That's why they were in a plastic bag.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Tom.
Tom what?
DeLeo.
Mr. DeLeo. You were home when this happened?
Yes.
You have children, sir?
Yeah, her daughter's my daughter.
You know how protective people are of their children?
Yes, I do.
Miss Campbell is protective of her child. You are particularly protective of a child who has a disability.
We were protective of her kids, too.
No, Mr. DeLeo. You're not protective of a child, sir, if you don't take care of that child
Well, it's
in
not
the same way that you would take care of your own child, and you would not leave your daughter in that situation. And if you would not leave your daughter in that situation, you don't leave a child entrusted to your care in that situation.
I want to say, when she made that phone call to me, if I had known that my son was going to go through this, you better believe I would have picked him up. I never intended for this to happen to him.
Had you always paid her on time?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I did.
And you paid her at the end of the month?
Yes.
For the preceding month?
Correct.
Now, you know that she took care of, by the way, did you report this incident?
Yes, I have. I filed a police report, which I have a copy. Tom DeLeo is also involved. I want to explain to you this. When my children got into the car, both of them at the same time told me, Mommy, Tom hit Josh in the head. Tom hit Josh in the head. Then Josh told me, no, you know what? Jenna's going to tell you. Then Josh told me his feet hurt, and that's when I asked him, were you in the corner all this time? And Josh said yes. I have filed reports with community care licensing. I have filed a police report. I have filed a police report. Child abuse registry is currently investigating that. Anaheim Police is awaiting their report.
Okay, well, that's a good idea. What's your name?
Jenna. Jenna.
Jenna? Is your name Jenna? I have a little granddaughter whose name is Jenna. She's 2.5. Jenna, would you like to come up here and talk to me for a minute?
Watch your step. I see you, Jenna.
Hi.
Hi.
Jenna, do you remember that day when your brother had a problem? Yes? Well, would you tell me what happened? You look at me and tell me.
Well, I came to my babysitter's house. She picked me up from the bus stop, and then we had to do my homework, me and my friend, and then we ate our snack, and then we played the monkey game, and then it was time for Joshua to get up. And then
he had been sleeping?
Yeah. And he did an accident.
While in his pants while he was sleeping? Okay, so what happened then?
And then Carrie put him in the corner for 2 hours, and then he told me that...
Who's Carrie?
She.
She. That's Carrie? She put him in the corner?
And then he told me that Tom hit him in the head because he hit Ashley on accident.
Oh, so that Tom hitting him on the head had to do with an argument that their little girl was having with your brother. So he said he hit him on the head because he hit Ashley. Joshua hit Ashley. I see. It didn't have anything to do with him soiling his pants that he got hit in the head, right? Is that right? Good. Anything else you want to tell me? Has it always been okay at this babysitter's for you? Up until this happened? She's a pretty nice babysitter? Yeah. She takes care of you okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You never had any complaints before, did you? No? You have a new babysitter now? You like the new babysitter? Want to go back to your seat? Okay. Okay, so at least we found out about this hitting on the head. It didn't really have anything to do with
this.
this.
No, but how appropriate is it to hit a child with stress-related
Kathy,
seizure
I
disorder
never
in the
hit
head?
Josh in the head.
Listen.
No way.
Listen.
That's what my children told me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have nightmares over what my Joshua went through for 2.5 hours. You're pathetic and you make me sick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Bennett Campbell says her babysitter, Carrie Cooper, neglected her 5-year-old son, and so she refuses to pay the fee.
This was an unfortunate incident.
Extremely.
I absolutely agree with you. But it appears from what your daughter has said, and even what you have said to me previously, that this was a babysitter that you had used for 2 years and who had taken good care of your kids. I don't think you would have left your children with her if she didn't. I find, Miss Cooper, that your behavior on that day was really inexcusable. The issue is, does that mean that you don't have to pay her for the whole month? And you do, because that was your arrangement. You have to pay her for the month that she watched your children. I certainly think that you did the appropriate thing by issuing the reports that you did, because I think that her actions were callous in what you did with your boy. She exercised very poor judgment. I'm telling you that you exercised very poor judgment. But this is a court of law. You had a contract. Your contract provided that you were supposed to be paid $450 for watching these children. You would watch them for an entire month prior to this incident. So the judgment in this case is simple. It's for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope you're proud of what you did to my son.
Step out the back door to your right, please.
I think you're pathetic, and I think you should not be watching children, and I think you better take some parenting classes, and you need to find some compassion.
Parenting classes.
Oh, honey, I'm in parenting classes to deal with the problems my son has because
Your son
of you.
had problems before.
That's correct,
me.
and you knew about it. You knew.
Parties on Richardson versus Amos. Step forward, please.
29-year-old dancer Denise Richardson says she loaned her brother-in-law, Lavasta Amos, $95 to rent a truck, and he never paid her back.
All right, Miss Richardson, you say that Mr. Amos owes you $95. You want to tell me how that came about, please?
I don't know about it in March. My niece called her father asking me to help.
Your niece?
My niece.
That's his daughter?
My sister's daughter, yes.
Okay. This is the father?
Yes.
Your niece called you and said... Asked me if I could rent a rider truck for them to move. So it was
for
just...
whom?
For her father and her.
Okay.
And it was just for me to put it on my credit card, for them to just have a deposit, you know, to hold the truck, and then they were supposed to make the payment.
They were supposed to pay in cash?
They were supposed to pay in cash, yes, ma'am.
So you said?
No problem. I went down. I had to sign, show my ID. He wasn't present, but his wife, Tammy, was. I said, are you sure you're going to pay? She said, yes, we're going to pay. We're going to bring the truck back this evening, and we're going to pay. So I had to go to work, and I went ahead and left the matters in their hand.
So they put the $95 on your credit card, and they never paid for it in cash?
Yes,
ma'am. Yes?
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Let's get down to business. Do you owe this lady $95?
Yes, I do.
So why are you here?
Well, basically, it's like that happened when I did have the money. She wasn't in town. She was out of state, so I ended up spending the money. So when she came back, I told her...
Just a minute. You rented the truck.
Yes.
And you had the money.
Yes.
In cash.
Yes. No, not at the time that she rented the truck.
That's what you told me.
So then you got the money.
You're right.
How much later did you get the money?
It was about a week later.
So why didn't you send it to her?
I didn't have her address for her. Plus, when I had the money, she was gone out of state.
Actually, the money was supposed to be paid that day. The credit card was only to hold a truck because you can't get one without a credit card. He was supposed to pay that day, either that night or the next morning they dropped off the truck.
No, because I told her I didn't have the money, because if I did, I would have gave her the money that day.
If that was the case, I would have never let him rent a truck on my credit card, knowing he may have done that to me.
If she knew
I assume you have the money
today.
today. Listen, I assume you have the money today.
No, I do not.
Well, you better get it. Do you work?
Yes, I do. But she owed me.
She owes you for what?
Well, back on March the 22nd, or at the end of March, my daughter babysitted her kids. Her kids got out of hand one time, and they was just basically running in and out the dining area where my cabinet was, and they ended up breaking my champagne glasses for a wedding.
That was never, I never did know anything about it.
I told her about it.
March?
And yes, when Toya kept the kids that day.
Just a second.
And I told her that the glasses cost $150. It was our wedding champagne. It was engraved with our name on it and everything. She said she was going to pay me back.
This is all new to me. I've never even heard this.
Mr. Amos, that really has no... You can't set off, sir. What you're looking to do is set off the champagne glasses for the $95 that you owe her. Let me tell you this. If your daughter...
It has nothing to do with that. I mean, you know, it's like she said she was going to pay me. That's just like the same thing I'm supposed to pay her. I'm going to pay her and she ain't paying me.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm not deciding that lawsuit with the broken champagne glasses, but if I was deciding that lawsuit, this would be my decision. Pay careful attention. Your daughter, who is how old?
She's 16 now.
She assumed the responsibility of taking care of these two children. It was her responsibility to see to it that the two children were supervised at all times, and if there was anything in the house that could be broken or whatever, it was her responsibility to see to it that those things were out of harm's way. Do you understand?
Yeah, but I had told her kids several times to stay out the dining area. They were supposed to be in the play area.
Then what you have to do is tell your daughter, who would assume the responsibility for those children, to take the children outside. Do you understand?
But it was at night.
Hey, Mr. Amos, you got an answer for every question. You owe her the money. Period. End of discussion. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $95. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out the back to your right.
On the next Judge Judy.
I think you're less of a man to make your daughter lie about some money that you were supposed to have given me anyway.
My daughter has nothing to do with this.
Oh, she doesn't? She was the one who called me and asked me to rent a truck for you and your wife.
Because she still owes me $100 from 1991 still.
You owe me my money. You gotta pay me.
Well, I'm not gonna pay you because you still owe me.
Parties on. Amin Shavoni versus Sharifi Azad. Step forward, please.
30-year-old attorney Sonia Amin and sales clerk Brenda Schiavone are both suing beauty salon owner David Sharifi Azad for tattoo makeup they say caused permanent damage.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 17 on the calendar in the matter of Amin Shavoni versus Sharifi Azad.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this is an interesting case. I've sort of enjoyed reading about it. According to the complaints that I've read, you two ladies went to the defendant's salon to have some permanent cosmetic work done on your faces.
That's correct, Your Honor.
We're going to get to why you would want to do that to such beautiful faces in a minute. And you were dissatisfied with the work, so you're suing them. Is that what this is about?
I think you can use a stronger word than dissatisfied, Your Honor, more like disgusted.
Well, first tell me about the kind of work that you wanted to have done on your face.
It's a permanent cosmetic procedure. Instead of having to apply makeup on a daily basis, you would look like you've already been made up. Would have a lip liner on the outside of the lips and for me, an eyeliner, which is just on the margin of the eyelids, upper and lower, so that I wouldn't have to apply eye makeup on. So when I wake up, I look like one during the rest of the day.
Tell me how this is done.
It's a tattoo type of procedure where you take a needle with pinpoints and you take a color. I don't know what kind of exactly it's made out of, but it's a color that you apply with pin dots. And you connect the dots, you keep dotting it until you connect the dots and you see a line. And then the same thing underneath.
On your eyes?
Yeah.
What kind of research did you do before you decided to embark on these procedures?
Well, I worked in the medical field before, many years ago, and I've known numerous people who've done the procedure and who've actually performed the procedure, so I'm familiar with how it works. And it's relatively safe. We never heard any bad stories, and we talked and we decided we'd go together.
Fine. So you asked recommendations of these numerous friends as to where they had had it done, I assume?
Actually, no. Brenda suggested that we go to this gentleman's store.
Why? Brenda,
Because it was near my house. And
now the reason you didn't answer me so fast.
And the advertisement.
Just a second. The reason you didn't answer so fast is because, as you were saying it, it sounded foolish, right? Well, I'm suggesting to you that if you're going to have this procedure done, which is, to me, you know, it's an invasive procedure.
Yes, it is.
It's an invasive procedure. It's not like putting a cream on you.
Right.
It's needles going into you, that you do more than just
Believe
look at
me,
a pretty
I know,
thing.
Your Honor.
All
I suffered
right.
for an hour on his table, I know.
Okay. Now, so you went in, and who was going to do this procedure for you?
His employee, her name was Fatih. And
Who you spoke to?
Yes, beforehand.
Fatih was your employee.
She works as an independent contractor in our salon.
Well, did you tell that to these people?
Yeah, they know that.
No,
What?
I paid
no,
him.
that's not what. Don't tell me what they know, David. Listen to me. I told you would not escape me.
The lady who performed it, when they came in, they talked to her, and she said, "I will do that for them." And I asked her, "Did you go through the initial introduction procedure?" And she said, "Yes."
David, that's not my question. I said it was your employee. Don't try to outwaltz me,
Well,
sir.
what I'm saying now,
you
Your
didn't
Honor,
say to them that she is not my employee. She is an independent contractor. Are you trying to talk over me?
No.
David, you didn't say to them, this is an independent contractor who just rents space in my store. This was presented as your employee. So as far as anybody who walks into your store is concerned,
Yes, ma'am.
the people in your store are your employees.
That's true.
Oh, that's okay. So now tell me what happened. You want to start?
Sure. So I'm laying on the table, and she started on my eyelids first, on my upper eyelids. And you're supposed to do dot points, right, to connect the colors. You know, like dots with a needle. And what Fatih was doing was taking the needle and making a line. And I was dripping in blood during the entire time. And I could see Brenda's expression. She's looking at me in horror like this. And I'm like, so I asked Fatih, excuse me, don't you think you should wait until the blood dries before you continue poking me? She told me that this is how she does the procedure and it's fine. And I was in a lot of pain. Tears were coming down. I stopped her again. I said, you know what? This doesn't seem right. How can you see what you're doing with all the blood and all the tearing? She goes, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. Finally, she finished with my eyes. I should have just left. But anyway, she finished my eyes and she moved on to my lips. Again, the same thing. She was just taking the needle and taking the line and over, and she had to do it like 4 times because the color wasn't taking. As you can see, I look the same as I did, a week afterwards with no liner. I have nothing on my lips. And this is what I paid them to do, right? So anyway, then it was Brenda's turn. So I'll let
So you just watched the assault on your friend Sonia.
Yes.
And then you said, here I am. Me next.
I've gotten, like I said, I have 3 tattoos, and you're supposed to dot it, and then you're supposed to wipe it.
She just told me that you watched what they did to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
I mean,
she
had you
said
been
this
drinking?
was normal. She said, because I didn't know that permanent makeup, that it was this type of procedure. I had them on all other parts of my bodies, not on my face.
All right, so...
And they were very friendly to us and very
It was
cordial
clean.
and very...
It was dumb.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
It's absolutely ridiculous for me to go and lay on his lousy table to bleed for an hour and a half.
Later today.
You just shafted her, and you know it.
No, I didn't.
She worked 165 hours gets nothing.
I didn't shaft her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brenda Schiavone and Sonia Amin claim that a permanent makeup procedure in David Sharif Yazad's beauty salon was botched by his employee.
So you had your lips done?
Yes.
And no color?
As she proceeded, she did it once, the whole time around. Did not stop, but maybe once or twice to wipe it because I said, you know, I was dripping blood all the way down my chin.
Is this painful?
Yes.
Well, sure, we're sitting there
By
bleeding
now,
the
you're
whole
pretty
time.
much numb.
45
You
minutes
couldn't
on her,
really
an hour and
feel
a
it.
half on me. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
She did it 4 times on my lips.
We walked out of there, it looked like somebody
All right,
beat me
so
up.
when you got home, it was terrible.
Yes.
All right, let's cut to the chase. You got home, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So you called them again?
Yeah, I called him. I talked to Fatih. I said, this is ridiculous. I can't believe we went through this. It's not right. My eyes are swollen. My lips look, I look like a clown. She looked like a clown.
Yeah. So what did you want Fatih to do?
So she said, let me do it again. And I said, forget it.
Well,
I said, I'm not going to let you butcher me and do this again. And I talked to David. I said, you know what? You guys did a terrible job. I can't believe this went on. And I'm in pain. I'm scabbed. This is terrible. He reassured me that, you know, I'm sorry. Come in. Let my wife do it. And I said, your wife? She was learning. And I said, there's no way I'm coming in for you. I'm not going to be somebody's guinea pig. And he said, okay. On the 8th of June, he told me, I'll credit your credit card account and we'll call it even.
How much did you pay him?
I paid him $450 for me.
$450?
Yeah.
And I paid $200.
Total of $650.
David, take a look at them. Do they have permanent color like they were supposed to?
If you allow me, Your Honor, I want to explain to you.
Okay.
They did their side. Would you allow me to do my side?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. They came to the salon and they said they want to do the permanent makeup. We have done numerous permanent makeup with no incident. Everybody happy.
I'm not
and they are
interested in
customer.
that. I'm not interested
However,
in that.
they did it, and when they came out of the room was at the closing of the time closing the store. My wife was there, I was there, and I did not see a drop of blood on their face or anything that they say.
Of course you
honest.
didn't, because you weren't there.
When you came out of the room, I saw you.
Okay.
And then Fatih came out, and as you see, they have signed a contract that it said this procedure might cause discomfort or pain, and it needs follow-up procedure.
Let me see the contract.
They read it, they signed it, and it's explained in the paper.
Let me see it. I can read, sir. It was
Okay,
one of
so
the first
this
prerequisites
is one
for this
her
job.
And the other one for the other.
Your Honor, at the conclusion of the procedure, it is true that David said that we may need touch-up, a minor touch-up, but what needs to be done is a complete redo, as if nothing was done. And he offered me to come back and do it again. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous for me to go and lay on his lousy table to bleed for an hour and a half.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You allowed somebody to go across your eye, allow blood to be dripping from your eye, and didn't at that very moment get up off the table and say, get away from me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Sharif Yazad says he never got the chance to finish the tattoo makeup for the plaintiffs, Sonia Amin and Brenda Schiavone. They say his salon was incompetent.
Now, I've read this contract. It says the undersigned client, that's them, agrees to follow the aftercare instructions and agrees that any touch-up work needed due to the undersigned's negligence, that's their negligence, shall be done at the undersigned's expense.
If they're negligent, but if they weren't negligent, we would do the follow-up free.
Well, they don't want follow-up, sir, and they certainly don't want your wife to do follow-up because your wife was a cosmetician in training.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you.
Brenda, your suit is for $200, correct?
Correct.
And Sonia, yours is for $450, correct?
Well, Your Honor, yes, but I think we're entitled to more than what was paid because of the pain and suffering that they inflicted on us.
Well, there's something called contributory negligence.
Well, that's fine. If I'm 20% contributory negligent or whatever number you want to assign.
I want to tell you something. Based on the story that you told me and the apparent intelligence of both of you two women, I think that you're far more than 20% responsible for your own pain and suffering. You were laying on the table, and you knew that this was supposed to be done in a dotting procedure, and you allowed somebody to go with a needle, instead of doing it in little dots across your eye, to go across your eye, allow blood to be dripping from your eye, and didn't at that very moment get up off the table and say, "Get away from me." You let him do the other eye. When you finish letting him do the other eye, you let him do your mouth. And you watched the whole thing, and when she hopped up, you sat down.
Your Honor, there wasn't any blood.
Listen to me.
You weren't even in the
There
room.
wasn't any blood, Your
David,
Honor.
David, now say nothing. Listen to me. Listen to me. When you stopped this process, and when you first initially wanted your money back, that's what you were going to sue for. And I think that you're entitled to have your money back. And if you want to have this done again to yourselves, go and have it done to yourselves. I don't think that there's any big deal in the morning keeping a tube of lipstick on the side of your table. You want to look nice when you go in and brush your teeth? Put a little lipstick on. You know, to have it done permanently, your lips are going to change as you get older. Your eyelids are going to change when you get older. The bottoms of your eyes are going to change. They're going to get a little further down. The lids are going to come over. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650, consistent with the amount that they paid for these procedures. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
I think they were looking for opportunity to make few bucks.
Oh, yeah, right.
We
didn't even have anything on our face.
Nothing.
Nothing on our lips.
Because you are negligent and you could have had 10 months to come to talk to us. You didn't. You were looking for making
If
some
this is
money out of it.
satisfactory work, then
No,
it's a waste
you should have
of
come to
everybody.
follow up. You never follow up.
Parties on Addison versus Farwell. Step forward, please.
Secretary Bonnie Addison is suing Suzanne Farwell, her co-worker at California's Los Alamitos racetrack, claiming Suzanne refused to pay for 4 wedding dresses that took her 165 hours to make.
Miss Addison.
Yes.
You were familiar with the defendant from work. What kind of work do you do?
We both work at Los Alamitos Race Course.
And according to your complaint, she approached you one day because she was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Must have heard that she sewed in her spare time.
Yes.
And she asked you if you would be interested in making 4 bridesmaids' dresses.
Correct.
So tell me about that conversation, because according to your complaint, you made the dresses, and then she didn't pay you for them and didn't pick them up.
That is correct.
Go ahead.
We were just talking one day, and she asked me if, since I sew, would I be interested in making the dresses, and I told her I would. And she asked me what would I charge, and I told her I had no idea because I had never sewn for other people in this manner. So I would have to check with a few people who did, so, you know, and then I'd let her know.
So did you let her know how much you were going to
Yes.
charge? What did you say to her?
I told her that I was told, since I was not a professional sewer, that a fair price to charge would be $10 an hour.
And what did she say?
She agreed.
Is that correct?
I did not agree to the $10 an hour.
What did you agree to?
When I approached her, I told her that I had been to a few seamstress that could do it for $120, and if she was interested to make some extra money for her sewing equipment, that if she would be willing to do it for under $120, and she agreed.
So according to you, she didn't say anything about $10 an hour.
She mentioned the $10 an hour.
What do you mean she mentioned it?
She said that that's what she was told to charge, being that she was a beginner. I asked her if that would keep me under the $120, and she said yes, as long as I did all the legwork, which I did, and she said that that would keep me under $120.
So, then what happened?
I thought we had agreed upon the $10 an hour, and that's the reason I said I would do it, you know.
So then you got started, you made these dresses.
Mm-hmm.
You were working by the hour. How many hours did it take?
165.
So that would be $1,600 for the 4 dresses.
Correct.
Or $400 a piece.
Correct.
4 times as much.
The week before my wedding.
So what happened?
She approached me and she says, that's way too much money.
Sounds like too much money to me, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I didn't realize I had been working that many hours on it. I was just sewing, doing what I enjoyed doing. And when we figured out the hours and that, yes, it came to $1,650. Well, yes, even I thought that was a little much. So I agreed to cut my hours in half.
To make the dresses A little
About
over $200 a piece.
Correct.
And she said,
oh, that's too much money.
And you said,
well, if you can't pay that price, then you don't get the dresses.
So I didn't take them. This was all brought up the Sunday before my wedding. We talked to her one more time the Tuesday before my wedding and asked her and tried to talk her down. We offered her $150 for each dress over what we wanted to pay, and she would not accept that. She said, sorry, no money, no dresses.
Did they offer to give you the $150 for each dress?
No, ma'am, they offered me $150 for the 4 dresses.
$150 for the 4 dresses?
No,
And I
$150
said,
per dress, and I have
no way.
my witness right here to verify it.
Well, maybe that was a misunderstanding.
That might have been, I don't know. I can remember they offered me $150 for the 4 dresses. That's the reason I refused. I mean, I'm not crazy. I mean, I put a lot of time and effort into those dresses.
Well, I understand that you did, and I also understand that this was her wedding, and a couple of days before the wedding, I doubt whether she would have made a ridiculous offer to you of $150 for all 4 of the dresses. I mean, it just doesn't sound right. You ended up buying new dresses, correct?
Yes, we did.
And how much were the new dresses that you bought?
$136.
A piece?
A piece. And that was 3 days before my wedding.
Well, we have a problem here.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Suzanne Farwell says she refused to pay for wedding dresses made by her friend Bonnie because they weren't what she ordered.
Let me tell you what the problem is. The problem is a legal one. Because I see that you did the work. I also know that she got no benefit from the work that you did. And the problem comes from the fact that there was no meeting of the minds. This was a contract. And it was an oral contract that clearly neither of you agreed to the terms of because you were under the impression that you were going to be paid by the hour. And she was under the impression that whatever you did was going to cost her less than $120 per dress.
Correct.
If there is no meeting of the minds, there is no contract. And if there is no contract, you cannot sue on the contract, Ms. Addison. Now, I feel very badly for you because you went to all of this trouble, and you are a novice when it comes to sewing. I think that the advice that you were given to charge $10 an hour by whomever was ridiculous advice, because when somebody goes to a seamstress, they are given a price for the product. Because you, as a novice in making these kinds of dresses, in all probability took longer than a professional seamstress who could have done the work in far less time. So she would have been crazy to agree to pay you by the hour. So there is no meeting of the minds. And when there is no meeting of the minds in a contract, you cannot sue on it. So this case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
And on the next Judge Judy.
It is not my problem.
You just shafted her, and you know it.
No, I didn't.
She worked 165 hours, gets nothing.
I didn't shaft her.
I thought it was a slap in the face. That's the reason I told you, no, you get nothing. You offered $125 per dress, and I said no, and then you said, okay, $150 for all the dresses. I'd have been an idiot to take it.
Is on Kime versus McKay. Step forward, please.
Professional singer Jeanette Kime paid $8,000 to record producer Dan McKay, but never received her demo tape. He says he hasn't got it, so she wants her money back.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the court. All rise. Judge, this is number 13 on the calendar in the matter of Kime versus McKay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Kime, according to this, you're a singer, you have a band.
Yes.
You entered into an agreement, excuse me, with the defendant to produce some records for you, some songs, some of your songs. And you are, sir, a record producer.
Yes.
Mr. McKay. You went to his studio. Tell me what happened.
Well, we met last summer through a mutual friend, and I heard some of his work. He was a really good producer. And so my band, when I discussed recording with him, We decided to record 4 songs together at $2,000 per song, including additional instrumentation besides my band and the production. So I paid him a total of $8,000.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we recorded from the 10th through the 15th of August of 1996. It was sounding great, and at the end of the sessions on the 15th, I left the master tape with him. He was supposed to mix the tape. It was supposed to take 1 week. I had people waiting on this. I had like record companies that like have since think that I'm like insane for not having given them anything. And I called him about 5 days after we were done recording. Within that week, he said, give him an extra couple of give him an extra couple of days, which I did, and then I called him back. When I called him back, when he told me to call him back, he was out of town.
Which was when?
He told me to call him back, he said in a couple of days. So I called him back in 2 or 3 days after that, and he was out of town. And then I called him and called him and called him and called him, and he left a message on my machine saying, come down and pick up the tapes. So I was like, okay, finally they're done. So then...
What was the date of that telephone message?
I don't remember the exact date. It had to be within probably a few weeks maybe after the tapes were supposed to be done. And so I tried calling him back to pick up the tapes like he said, and I could never get in touch with him. And then after that, it was like, it was just impossible to like pin him down. Okay, I'm coming down now. It was, oh, I'm leaving right now. I'm going out of town. I have to find the tapes, this and that. I'm very busy. And so I never got them. And frankly, Judge Judy, I don't think he even has the tapes anymore. I've heard rumors that he was
Don't tell me rumors. All right, Mr. McKay, you have her $8,000 and you have her tapes.
Well, she's right. I don't have her tapes anymore because I attempted. I mean, her version is that she called me all these times, but I attempted to call. I mean, I attempted to get in touch with her. I called her.
Let's hear dates. She finished taping on the 15th of August.
On the 15th.
And did you do what you were supposed to do with the tapes?
Yes. Yes.
What
the
were you
tapes
supposed
were
to
ready.
do?
Mix them. She's finished recording.
Mixed, just for my purposes. I think I know what that means. You push a lot of buttons.
You blend everything together and make it sound like a record.
Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. But she...
So the 15th she was finished, and you finished mixing them when?
Oh, about 5 days later. But she had already called me like 2 or 3 times before I had even finished it. I told her, you know, I didn't say it was 2 or 3 days. I said it would be a week. And I did it under a week. And then when I was done, I did call her. And, you know, she took about a week to get back to me. Now, originally I told her...
Okay, let's say she took a week to get back to you. So what happened?
Well, I was involved in another project. That's what I was about to say. I told her I only had a space of about 2 weeks to do it, and that it had to be done or else I'd be gone.
So?
So I didn't hear anything before I left. And when I got back, I got all these crazy messages. You know, I'm flipping out. Where's my tape? Where's my tape? And
but according to you, you had done the mixing already.
Yeah, at that point.
Okay, so you did the mixing already, and she called you frequently. You acknowledged that. Where are my tapes?
Yeah.
So you said, come down and pick them up, I assume.
Yeah, I did, and I waited and waited. And
how long did you wait and wait?
Well, I had, I think it was like 4 days. I called the first call I made, and
one call.
Shut. Go ahead.
Well, basically, I was home for 4 days, and I mean, I really don't have. It's not like a tape storage facility. I mean, if this was that important to her, she could have made it down.
Just a second.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You just said you waited 4 days.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with the tapes?
Well, I work in a studio with some other people, and apparently someone misplaced the tape or used it for something else. And now I'm, you know, she's saying that I'm responsible.
Shut! Stop tapping the table.
Okay.
Just a second, Mr. McKay. You had her tapes for 4 days. You said evidently you work in a studio. Somebody either took them, misplaced them, or taped over them. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, whose fault is that?
Well, I think it's her fault because I tried to get in touch with her, and I mean, you know,
You think it's her fault? I mean, are you looking at me straight in the eye and saying to me, I held on to the tapes for 4 days, and then somebody lost them or misplaced them or taped over them, and it's her fault? 4 days?
No, it's not 4 days. This is in addition to the earlier time.
So how much? We talking about 2 weeks?
No, I think this is almost three weeks to a month now.
Oh, well, so let's talk about 3 weeks to a month. 3 weeks to a month. She's calling. You say she's calling all the time. You tell her to come in. She didn't come in for 4 days. That's what you originally told me.
Well, yes. I mean, I had no intention of that.
Look into my eyes, sir. Right here. Are you standing there as a business person and telling me that somebody either misplaced them, took them, or taped over them, and it's not your responsibility?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're insane.
Okay.
You're insane. You are insane.
And later today,
He's suing me for my equipment.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Record producer Dante McKay says he no longer has singer Jeanette Kime's demo tape, so she wants her $8,000 back.
Is that what you're really, as a business person who's trying at your youthful age to build up a career in your industry, trying to tell me whether it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, she paid you $8,000? You have a responsibility to maintain those things.
It was not my intention to ever have those tapes disappear at that point.
But they did. And they were under your control. They weren't under her control.
She had control of getting to the studio. I mean, did she not have control of getting herself to get them?
Mr. McKay. Sir. She hadn't abandoned this project, according to you. She called you all the time. As a matter of fact, she was called and making a nudnik out of herself at the beginning, according to you, because she called even before the week that you said you would need to mix these things. And you said, I told you it would be more than just a couple of days. Isn't that what you just told me?
Yes.
So what makes you think that she abandoned this property, which is what you suggest in your answer to me?
I thought my feeling is that she didn't take the project seriously. It wasn't just this, but other things.
Mr. McKay, everybody takes $8,000 seriously.
Well, now she does. Now she does, because she realizes. But I don't think she realized then when I asked her to come down and pick up the tapes.
Mr. McKay, on what date did you tell her to come to pick up the tapes, sir?
I don't have exact dates.
Well, you need exact dates, sir, in order to satisfy me, if you want to convince me of your position. You need exact dates, sir.
Well, I don't have an exact date. I mean, I could tell you, I know it was before the first of the month, because I had to do a project on the first of the month.
1st of September?
Yes.
Which is 15 days later that you called and told her to come down to pick up the tapes,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Were you looking at the tapes at the time?
Yes.
You were looking at them?
Yes.
And when did you realize that they were no longer there?
Well, she went at some point while I was gone.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's a studio. As I said, there's other people there. I told her to come and get them when I was there. I told her if she wanted to get them when I wasn't there, that's fine.
What date did you go to get the tapes and found that they weren't there?
It was, let me see. Well, I never actually went there. I called the studio to say I was coming by to pick them up, and that's, you know, like I was, you know, I don't know.
You have to,
I don't remember exactly.
Talk English. You have to tell me. You don't.
I don't remember the exact date that I had made the arrangements.
This is what I'm talking about.
Well, no,
was it Shh. Was it in September?
No, I believe that it was before September. It was before September.
But it wasn't any later than September?
No.
Well, if you didn't finish this until August 15th,
it was
finish the project.
I would say late August, because he had called.
It certainly wasn't in October, or November, or December. You didn't leave the property there for 6 months.
No.
All right, Mr. McKay, how old are you, sir?
27.
And how long have you been in this producing business of records?
A while, 8 to 10 years.
How long? What's a while?
8 to 10 years, I'd say.
Since you were a teenager?
Yeah.
You only have one thing in business, and that's your reputation.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
People like Mr. McKay, have to be put in their place. That's what I think.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Somebody has to take a hit for this money. It is not sensible, sir, for somebody to have invested their time and given you $8,000, which you acknowledge, and for them to, within giving you the benefit of every doubt, 6 weeks, the whole month of September and half a month of August, abandon this project so that you feel comfortable about erasing the tapes, which, by the way, is what you swore to in your answer, that you erased the tapes. You didn't say they were lost. So this wasn't true in your answer. You don't know whether they were erased. They're just not there anymore.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you understand that the limit of the jurisdiction of this court is $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that?
Yep.
And I assume that you've come to this court because in order to retain counsel, etc., it would have been much more expensive.
Yeah.
So, she is absolutely entitled to her money back, sir. Absolutely. I'm going to suggest to you that as long as you're in a business, the only thing you have is your good name. And if there's a mistake made, what you're supposed to do is fess up right away so that it's not besmirched in an industry. That's a good lesson, and you're young enough to take that lesson to heart. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Awesome.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is not about a legal matter. This is just revenge, vindication against me because, you know, I don't know.
Okay, $8,000 doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just because I care so much about you that I would like do this just to harass you, just to have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You're insane.
Okay.
You're insane.
Okay,
You are insane.
And now the next case.
Parties on Stephens versus Garcia. Step forward, please.
35-year-old Christina Stephens is suing her fellow band member, Alan Garcia, over musical equipment she says he kept when the band split up.
All right, 3 of you started a band. You had the agreement that you would buy some equipment. What are you laughing at?
I don't get it.
Did I say something that was funny? Sir,
Yes?
did I say something that was funny?
No.
So why are you laughing?
I'm just kind of smiling. Not really laughing.
3 of you started a band. You bought some equipment according to these complaints. I believe you. The agreement was if anybody left the band, the other 2 people would buy out the person that was leaving. You decided to leave.
Actually, no, I didn't leave. He left the band practice with the equipment, and without my consent and without Robert's. And we are still a band.
So he left and took some equipment.
Mm-hmm.
What equipment did he take?
He took the PA head.
PA head?
Which runs the monitors and the speakers and the microphones and everything.
Did you take the PA head?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Well, I need it. I'm the singer.
You were the 3rd person in the band?
The 4th person, Your Honor.
So there were 4 people?
Yeah.
So you have a half a band and a half a band?
We are a full band. There's more people still playing with us. We still had prior or future engagements that we still had to do. And we've been renting equipment, or a PA head to run our equipment.
I still don't understand what a PA head is. Is that like a mic, just a microphone?
It's a little box, and you plug all the stuff into it, and it makes everything work.
Well, how much did that cost?
It cost
$750.
What?
$750.
About.
It cost $742.
You wrote it right there.
$742.
$742. And how much is the equipment that you have worth?
The monitors and the Sun speakers are mine. They never were the band's. And I have receipts that I bought them, and they total $974, what he is suing me for. He's suing me for my equipment.
The contract says right here all the equipment that's involved in this piece of musical shamble that's going on here, and
Could I see that, please?
it's all together, regardless if she bought it or what. It's all
You
together.
never paid. Just a second.
We all pitched in to buy this, the three of us, okay?
You did not pay.
If
Just
one
a second.
person was to leave, then the other two would pay it out. Now, she left, she went with him, and that's fine, and me and Robert are still together. We'll pay her money, we just want the equipment. You see?
Just a minute. Did you pay this $974 for the equipment that she says she brought into the band?
No, she did.
Well, then why should she give it to you?
What does the contract say? The contract says if somebody leaves, the other ones will buy out their half.
Listen to me, sir. Let's talk logic. Try to not smile.
It's hard.
It's not hard, just do it.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
There's a certain logic in a group of people, 3, 4, 5 people getting together and deciding to pool their money, buy equipment, and a contract that says if somebody leaves, the other members of the band will purchase their equipment. It is illogical to say that if somebody has purchased equipment, $1,000 worth of equipment, they're going to put that in the pot for no money. And then, if somebody decides to leave, let's say she decided to leave and the only equipment that was there was $974 worth of equipment that she had purchased that nobody contributed to, that she would have to buy out her own equipment. Wouldn't that be stupid? Would that be stupid?
Well, how does she
What do
buy
you
her own equipment if she's taking it? I don't understand.
No. You're countersuing her for her equipment that she bought that you didn't pay for. Isn't that right? That's what your countersuit is.
All I'm aware of is that the equipment belongs to this group.
No, listen to me. Not aware of. You started this group. Did you pay for the equipment that she brought into the group?
No, not that she brought into it.
So then your countersuit is dismissed.
That settles that.
Very quick. Let's get rid of this. He's irritating me. You are suing for $117? For what? Just tell me fast.
For the
Fast.
money that was put into the PA head that I put in.
$117.
It's my share, yeah.
You have a check for that or something, of some proof of that? Even drinking my water. Being a fool and drinking my water.
It's right at the bottom of the contract.
Could I see it, please?
Right. It shows my share, his share, and Rob's share.
It's just a copy of the same one he gave the judge.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're showing shares here.
I see. Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $117. That's all. Goodbye.
Excuse you may step out. I'll back go to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
So you guys are musicians, man, and you guys do your thing, and I'll do my thing, you know? They don't mix, you know? Well, it's two different styles of music. You see, they don't blend, you know? So, go see him. Go hear him. Am I gonna fight you? Look at you, probably beat me up. What's the deal, man?
Party's on. Opp versus Gallagher. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Julie Opp and her boyfriend, John Gallagher, a private investigator, drove to Mexico so Julie could live out a private fantasy, to dance in a strip club. But when the time came, John got jealous and a fight erupted at the border.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. All rise. Judges, number 7 on the calendar in the matter of Opp versus Gallagher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, this is some story, depending upon the version. Bottom line, Miss Opp, you are suing the defendant, Mr. Gallagher, because you say he assaulted you on a recent trip to Mexico.
Yes.
Why you were there is somewhat in dispute. We'll get to that in a minute. He says that you assaulted him first. Something that you don't really deny in your papers.
Yes, I did.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Were you his girlfriend?
We were girlfriend and boyfriend.
For how long? Before you took this trip, this fateful trip?
Probably a year and a half.
What were you doing in Mexico?
We originally went down there to get him some steroids, and
some medicine that takes you off of steroids.
Nope, that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I'll get to you in a second. All right, so tell me when you left. You left for Mexico on what day of the week?
We left on the 17th. I don't remember what day of the week that was.
Oh, was it on a weekend?
I don't even remember.
Were you planning on spending a few days there?
No, we just went there for the day to pick up his steroids.
So you left in the morning?
Yeah.
What time did you get there?
I think it was around 10.
In the
11.
morning?
Yeah.
So what did you do? Tell me about the day.
We got there and we went to the pharmacy to look for his stuff, and he wanted to find a doctor where he could get his steroids, and that took an hour or two, and then we went, had some tacos, drank a few beers, and basically that took a couple more hours. Then we went to a strip bar. We had previously talked about me dancing, and I said no, I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, tell me if that's what I don't. That's what I find so interesting about this case. You went to a few strip bars and you talked about you dancing.
Well, before we went to the strip bar, we talked about it.
What was the conversation?
He wanted to see me dancing.
No. Oh.
Go ahead.
He wanted to see me dance because it was kind of like a fantasy thing between us. He just wanted to see it. I wasn't a dancer. He'd never seen me on a stage, and I told him if I did do it, I would need to drink a lot in order to get up there. And so we went to the strip bar. I drank a lot, and
you got pretty drunk?
I don't really get drunk because I get sick really easy, but I got tipsy. Definitely, I had to relax in order to do it.
Okay.
And so I drank. He said, "Come on, keep doing it, you know, go do it." And finally, I did it. I went up there and I danced. And when I got down
at the strip bar.
Yes. And
Bambi's.
Do you have to? I mean, can anybody just go there and do this? Do you have to ask a manager?
Anybody can do it. There was other American girls there doing it too. And there was a bunch of Marines. It wasn't.
Okay. Feels foolish now, doesn't it?
I've never done it before.
Oh, okay.
And it was supposed to be something private between him and I, and it didn't end up that way.
So what happened? You danced?
I danced. I was done. We went to another bar, and he's like, do it here. And we're sitting there, and there was a girl dancing in front of us. And he says, give me $1, I want to tip her. I said, I'm not going to give you $1 to tip her. Use your own money. And we got into an argument from that point on. So we walked out of the strip bar, and we're arguing on the street, and he called me a whore. And I said, how could you call me a whore? You're the one who talked me into doing this. And he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, I shouldn't have said that. Hit me. And I go, no. And he goes, hit me, you're a whore. And he just kept saying it. Finally, I hit him. I mean, we were arguing. It wasn't just a calm thing.
So you hit him?
So I hit him.
Where'd you hit him?
I'm sorry?
Where did you hit him?
In the face.
One time or more than one time?
One time, and then he called me a whore and told me, hit me again. So I hit him one more time. And then we grabbed a taxi.
3 times.
And then we grabbed a taxi, and we were driving back because we were going to get in trouble at that point. And he started calling me a whore again. So instead of hitting him, I grabbed my clog off my foot and hit him over the head. So I wouldn't hit him in the face. But tempers were not good, and he kept calling me a whore. And
he was pretty drunk too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
you get to the border.
We get to the border, and things have calmed down. We're back on this side. It's kind of over. I said I had to go to the bathroom before we go back, and in the parking lot where you park, there's a public restroom, and we went in there, and he starts arguing, and he's talking about it, and I said, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to argue. It's over. Let's just go home. It's been a bad day. And I tried to get out of the bathroom because I was done, and he wouldn't let me out of the bathroom. He kept arguing with me. And so I went to open the door, unlock the door, and get out. So it was hot and stinky. It's gross in there. And he wouldn't let me out. Finally, he grabbed me, and he pulled me away from the door and shoved me against the wall. And then that's when the back of my head hit the wall and I passed out. And he was yelling at me, "Stop it, you're faking it, you're faking it." And I was looking at him saying, "I'm not faking it, I'm passing out right now." And I was slumping down to the ground. And when I came to, because I kind of went out, when I came to, I noticed my hearing was gone. And then I became hysterical because I didn't know what was wrong. I'd never even heard of a ruptured eardrum. I didn't know what it was. I thought I had gone deaf for some reason. And I started screaming to him. We walked back to the car. He finally let me out, and we started to drive away. I said, "Take me to a hospital. This isn't normal. There's something wrong with me. Take me to a hospital." And he said, "No, I'm not. You know, you're fine. You're faking it." And so I grabbed my cellular phone because he wasn't going to take me to the hospital to dial 911, and he grabbed the phone and wouldn't let me call. And so because he wouldn't go to the hospital, I opened the door and pretended I was going to jump out. In order to let him know that I was serious, I needed to go to the hospital.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She would remain anonymous. No one would find out about this, and she could let her inhibitions go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julie Opp is suing ex-boyfriend John Gallagher, claiming he punctured her eardrum during a fight over her amateur stripping debut.
So you have medical bills that you want him to pay for?
Yes.
What were your medical bills?
One's the doctor's bill, which is $228.64. One is the lab bill, which is $267.24. And then there's the emergency hospital bill, which is $1,306.
Okay, Mr. Gallagher. You had enough water, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Let's hear your story. You went to Mexico.
I'll tell you the real version of the story. Actually, it started about a week before the date we went down. I can't recall the date, but the week prior, she had gone down to Mexico with a girlfriend named Melissa, done the same thing. She had been flirting with the idea of possibly trying, dancing at nightclubs. And, can't blame her. She's, pretty attractive and can make a lot of money at it. So they had gone down and came back and told me the story how she had gotten up on stage. And I don't think she actually meant to, but she ended up getting up on stage and she made a bunch of money. And she was kind of excited. And it probably was a fantasy thing also, but we decided to go down on that Saturday.
How much is a bunch of money? I'm just
She
curious.
had a lot of crinkle $1 bills, but I'm sure more than 100 of them.
$80. $80. It's not a lot of money.
She was probably on there for like 5 minutes and made $80.
This was before you made
I'd
$80
gone
when
the
you went
weekend
down there
before
with the girlfriend.
With my girlfriend, I told him about it, and he said, "I want to do that." And we talked about it.
So
and
you
I
went
said,
down a week before with Shaq.
No, I said that I wasn't really comfortable with it.
But you went down a week before you made $80.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So she wanted me to go down with her.
I'm going to charge you for the water.
Can I get something better? So, a little nervous. She wanted me to go with her, partly as protection. Melissa couldn't go, and also a fantasy thing. But we didn't go down in the morning, and we did not go down to buy steroids. It's a lie. We didn't go down to buy steroids. We actually went down. It was dark out when
Ask
we were
him to
driving.
take his jacket off.
Yeah. We went. I don't want to. While we were there, we did go down, but it wasn't in the morning. It was dark out. It was probably like 7 or 8 o'clock when we started driving down. She drove her car, and we did stop at the border, and we parked in that parking lot and took the red bus. It's just this red bus you take in. It's like a mile. It costs $1. And I did buy some pharmaceuticals there. They were not steroids. I didn't go down to buy steroids. Then we started drinking, and actually went to a taco bar across the street from the strip bars, and we had some beers, and we went to, I think, 2 other bars and drank a lot of tequila. We did get pretty drunk. And she got her courage up, and she really wasn't sure if she was going to do this, and maybe I did, provoke her a little bit to do it. We went to the first bar. I think it was Bambi's. And arrangements were made for her to go on stage, and she went on the backstage.
So let me stop you. How were arrangements made? Look. How were arrangements made for her to go on the stage?
I was kind of like her agent.
Well, Mr. Gallagher, that's a conclusion, sir. Tell me exactly what you did to make these arrangements.
Grabbed one of the guys, like the Mexican guys that worked there that spoke English, and said she wants to dance. And then at first they look at her and like, yeah, but they try to play hardball. No, we can't have her up. And we negotiate back and forth.
What do you negotiate about?
Just to get her on, you know.
What negotiating usually involves money.
Yeah, well, she's going to
So
make
let me
money.
hear.
He wanted free
Oh,
drinks.
free beers for me.
Just a second. So you negotiated with one of the proprietors, or
I drank free, she got to dance. That was the negotiation. Oh, she got to drink free too, that was a given. And so we negotiated she was going to go on the backstage. I think she wanted to get on the front stage where she would make more money and have more exposure, this little room in the back with a small backstage. She gets up there and takes her clothes off, and hell breaks loose. I mean, they can't believe what they're seeing. She's very beautiful. I mean, the whole bar moves to the back where it's getting crowded while she's dancing and going off. And I mean, bottles start flying, and people are like getting so close to each other. And I mean, it was like a madhouse. And she starts, you know, dancing. And I got, you know, kind of jealous. It hurt, you know, to see her doing that.
so you got angry.
I got angry and I got jealous. It was
Seriously?
painful. No, I didn't get angry. I tried to keep in perspective. Tried to. And
But you had a lot of booze.
we were getting drunk. We were drinking.
Well, she wasn't drinking when she was up there dancing, but you were continuing to drink when
She
she
was
was
drinking when
up.
she got down, though.
But you were drinking while she was dancing.
Yeah, but not
Okay.
as much as her.
She came down and you got angry. Tell me what happened.
No, I
when
didn't get angry. When she came down, we decided to go to another bar where she could do the same thing because it was kind of wearing thin there and it got kind of violent. They were going crazy when they saw her. So we went to a bar next door.
Were you fond of this lady?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not registered. Maybe it's my puritanical upbringing. You know, that's not funny. That's not meant to be funny, sir. I just don't understand a man who would encourage. In fact, that I think she's nuts for wanting to do it in the first place.
Well, that's
but
what
a
she does
man
now.
who would encourage someone who he's fond of, negotiate, act as her agent.
Well, I make sure she's okay, you know, and nothing would take place. I wasn't going to let anyone hurt her.
That's not what I'm talking about, sir. Usually there's a certain proprietary interest that
Well,
men
that's what
have
she does
in their
now.
women and women have in men that they like.
It was in
I
the
don't
secrecy.
quite understand you.
It was in the secrecy of Mexico where she would remain...
Order.
She would remain anonymous. No one would find out about this, and she could let her inhibitions go. And
His inhibition.
no,
All right. Yours
she
too.
drugged me
Listen,
down there.
you went there before without him.
Yes.
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 Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That sounds pretty reasonable
That's
to
why I
me.
asked
Both
him.
acted like idiots.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Gallagher admits he became jealous when his girlfriend Julia danced in a strip club, but he says he didn't mean to cause the injury to her eardrum.
I want you to tell me she assaulted you because you called her a whore. Is that right?
In the second bar, I made the horrible mistake of calling her a whore. I did. It was
Okay.
horrible.
And tell me about the assault that took place on you.
Well, first, she lied because I didn't just hand the girl money. I'm standing there, I felt guilty. I'm next to this girl dancing, and I took one of her dollar bills that she'd just earned of hundreds, and I gave her one. And she got jealous and was pissed off.
Were you injured when she hit you?
The first two times she's hitting like a girl, it didn't hurt, and I did say, yeah, you hit like a girl, hit me again. She hit me again. Third time, she belted me so hard, my lip just exploded. Blood was coming out. And it almost knocked me down. Believe it or not, she can hit pretty good.
Okay, and what about hitting you with the clog in your head? She
Well,
said she hit you with the clog.
Federales are coming, and it's an urgency, so they stuff us in a cab, and we're driving, but we just keep arguing in the cab, arguing back and forth, and she hits me in the back of the head with a clog, and I barely remember that, except the next day I had a big bump on my head. We get through the United States, like she said, we go to the parking lot to use the bathroom before wherever we're going to go. We're going to drive. We're both drunk. And she gets passionate again. We start arguing. We had moments of calm and fury where we kind of calm down. And she's that way. She can fight good. So, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was drunk at the time. I can't remember every detail that occurred. But I know that she was starting to get angry again. And I don't know if she was going to hit me or I thought she was going to hit me or she tried to. Can't remember. But I know that I grabbed her and I picked her up. And she was wrestling. And she went limp.
This was in the bathroom?
In the bathroom. And she was flailing, and I was drunk, and I didn't know that she hit her head. She just went limp in my hands. And she sunk down to the ground on her butt. And she sat there and looked up at me, and then she started to say she couldn't hear. And I really thought she was embellishing something. I didn't believe her at first. And she started to cry and scream and get more hysterical. And I didn't believe that she was hurt.
Ultimately, you took her to the hospital.
And ultimately, we ended up at the hospital. Her injuries are obviously real. The doctor found out that she had a bruise here in the back of her left ear, I think. Left ear, and she was, I don't know if she lost hearing or not.
What did you originally offer to pay her to
When the bills
help
came,
offset?
we'd split it.
You'd split it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable
That's
to
what I
me. You
asked
both
him to
acted like idiots. It sounds pretty
I
reasonable
asked
to me
him
that you
to-
should
yeah.
split it.
She probably did hit her head as a result of me lifting her up. I don't think on purpose. I know on purpose I didn't try to hurt her.
After you arrived back in the United States and after this whole incident, did you continue to see each other?
Yes.
For how long?
About 4 more months until I kept catching him cheating on me. So I finally.
So you saw each other for 4 months after
Right.
that? You had already gotten these bills?
Yes, I'd gotten it, and he's given me $25 on those
50.
bills.
I gave you 50.
25.
Did you ever take up this dancing as an occupation?
That's
Yes.
what I'm doing now.
Good, too.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julie Opp wants her former boyfriend, John Gallagher, to pay the medical bills for an injury he caused when he became jealous over her appearance in a Tijuana strip club.
I read medical bills at $1,800.
And then also, I was suing him for $300 because I had to get a restraining order against him.
That's your problem. Listen to me. Miss Opp, I think you made a big mistake. I think this whole escapade in Mexico was a big mistake, and I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying to you that getting drunk, and engaging in bar dancing with your boyfriend is not something that's designed to solidify a relationship in normal terms. Maybe I'm missing something. My kids might say to me, you know, you're operating in the 40s and 50s and 60s, mother, but I don't think so. I think still people who care for each other don't want to see other people slipping dollar bills in somebody's panties.
It wasn't that
Do you
bad.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sarah, and certainly not acting as their agent, which is, to me, almost like acting under these circumstances like a pimp.
It was pretty innocent.
It's pretty nasty. So you ought to pay for, I'm not going to have him pay for the whole thing. You contributed to this ridiculousness. And as it happens, I believe that you contributed to it even more than you initially told me you did, because you went down there before with a girlfriend, which is something that you didn't tell me right away. You said you had never done anything like this before. Right? Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So your medical bills, you didn't have any medical bills from being clocked by her, did you?
No.
Your medical bills were $1,800, and you're going to pay for half. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy.
He lies, he cheats, he's not faithful. It just didn't work out between us.
We were drunk.
I don't get drunk.
You were drunk.
I
was drunk. You
I
were
get
drunk.
buzzed. If I get drunk, I get sick. I don't get drunk. He's the one who got me into dancing altogether. He dated all the dancers. I felt if I didn't become a dancer, he would keep cheating on me.
No, that's not true. She knows that she's real hot.
Parties on Fry versus Alexander. Step forward, please.
28-year-old model Tanya Fry claims professional photographer Sean Alexander sexually harassed her during a studio session and did not return her slides. Sean's witness, Vanessa Gill, says he's a total professional.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Judge, number 42 on the calendar in the matter of Fry versus Alexander. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're a model?
Yes.
Aspiring?
Yes.
So you have to smile. Mr. Alexander, you're a photographer.
Yes, I am.
You needed pictures?
Yes.
You hired him to take pictures?
Yes.
Now you're suing him
Yes.
for $1,000. Right? That's what you said.
They went up to $2,000 as of this morning.
Well, the papers that I have for $1,000.
Good.
So why don't you tell me about this arrangement and why you think he owes you any money?
Well, he didn't agree to what we agreed in the first
Where
place.
did you meet him? Let's start with that.
The modeling management. Model. It's a model management.
Is that a company?
Agency.
An agency.
Modeling agency.
Was he referred to you by someone?
Well, he was there with my manager, and he showed me his pictures, his book, which was really good, that he took of other models. And yes, they did tell me his work was good. So, yes.
And what was the arrangement, the financial arrangement that you had with him?
I had to pay him. He said $250.
I didn't hear you.
It was $250, and that was for the photo shoot. I was getting 2 rows of pictures.
You were getting 2 rolls of pictures, or he was shooting 2 rolls of
He
pictures?
was going to shoot 2 rows of film. He said I would get 2 rows, which would be 72 pictures that I would get. Okay.
That you would get to keep?
That I would get, yes. That's what you do when you take pictures. You get your proof sheet, you get your negatives, and your slides.
And what else was he supposed to give you for this $250?
Well, after I received the pictures from him, he does other things, or he does half of the job, you know, like the background change or the eye change or different things he do extra to the pictures. So that
he
would
touches
be extra
them up.
amount, right? Extra amount of money.
I know about that.
Okay, extra amount of money. So I paid for 4, which was $100. He said, and I have those 4.
4 photographs that you paid for out of your contact sheets.
This was
And that was $25 a piece, or another $100?
It was $100 for 4. Okay, I received those. Then we went back to the pictures. He brought some of the pictures. He said I would need 7 or 8 more pictures. So we picked 7 more pictures.
7 additional ones?
Additional ones.
At what cost?
$175. And then, because at the photo shoot, he only took cash. For these 4 pictures, he only took cash. He said only cash. Okay, so with these additional ones only had a checkbook, and I had no more money. So I post-dated the check. He didn't want to take it, but before I left, he said he would take the check. So I post-dated the $175 check for those 7 additional pictures that have
How long did you post-date the check for?
It was, about a week. Because it was, the week Thursday, and it was next Thursday, so it was a week.
Okay.
Which he had cashed it before the post-dated check. You understand? I didn't know they can do that, but
I didn't know either.
But he did, because
Okay.
I called the bank.
Okay.
Because I did not receive those 7 pictures, and I had been calling him, he wouldn't return my phone calls to get me those pictures.
So that's what you're suing him for?
Yeah, for those pictures, and then the slides that I want also. The rest of my pictures, the slides.
You want the contact sheets and the negatives?
Yes.
Now, sir, let's start with the 7 pictures first. You cashed her check for $175,
Yes, I did.
and that was for 7 pictures.
7 pictures.
Where are her 7 pictures?
They're right here.
Take them out.
I mean, I have no problem with her testimony all the way to the end.
Okay.
Because, you know, she's just about right. I mean, we had an agreement, and what happened was that she said, I went out of my way to make this arrangement for her. Starting from the beginning, I charge $150 a roll. 2 rolls, 150 times 2 is $300. She bargained it down, and she knows that. She said, I'd like to shoot with you. I've seen your work. It's great. I said, okay, you know what? I'll make it $250, but that's it. She comes to the shoot. We'll do 2 rolls. In the middle of the session, of course, when I'm shooting, I ask the client, I finished the rolls. Do you want to go on? And I added 1 extra roll, and I did not even charge her for it. And so I finished the job. She was very happy. When it came to the ordering, she just kept saying she doesn't have the money. I even went out of my way. What I did was I went ahead and printed the pictures without asking any money for it. I said, you know what, I'm so confident that you're going to like the pictures, so I'll show you, just pay me when you pick it up. She saw it, she liked it, and she ordered some more. But then again, we had money problem. And she said, well, can I post the check? I said, sure you can. I mean, I know you're good for it, you've been paying me, I have no problem with her. She's a very nice lady. I mean, I don't know why we are even here. But, she posted the check, and I told her, I said, number 1, your check is post-dated for a week. I have to wait until I cash it because, you know, I'm not
That's
going to
reasonable.
Yeah, and number two, I was going to go out of town for a week. I mentioned that to her, and I said, when I come back, I pick up the picture and I'll give it to you.
How long did it take you to do the other 7 pictures after she had given
Usually,
you the check? No, not usually. In this case, how long was it before you completed those pictures?
About a week to 10 days.
Okay. Can I see the photographs?
Sure.
I would really like to see them. Now, the only other thing that I have to ask you, sir, is about this arrangement where she would get all the negatives and the
It's not my practice whatsoever. I have hundreds of receipts here that I always mention on the bottom of my receipts. If they ask for it, I'll write it down. I do not include the picture. I do not include any negative or slides. It is just for the session. I charge $150 just to shoot. I even brought my witness that we just shot yesterday, and this is my just a very last and desperate attempt to get somebody, because I had somebody to show up today and she canceled. She had a shoot. I had a model was supposed to be here.
Well, what is she going to tell me if she was testifying?
She was going to actually just basically how I charge people and how we, you know, I usually, you know.
All I can tell you, Miss Fry, is these are terrific. Have you seen them?
I never see.
Well, I would love you to take a look at them. I think that they're really exceptional.
No, I've never said that he does do good work, but I have another comment about the amount. Actually, was $2,000. Posted in
Whether it was $2,000, I don't know what you're suing for $2,000 for. $1,000. Just a second. I don't know what you would be suing for $1,000 or $2,000 for.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was behind me, okay, grabbing my rear, telling me again how attractive my butt looked, how good it looked, making all these sexual comments.
And later today,
Tying their shoelaces together, sir, is a far cry from using a cigarette lighter and setting somebody on fire.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Photographer Sean Alexander denies that he took liberties with model Tanya Fry during a photo session, and as witness Vanessa Gill says Sean has a spotless reputation.
Now you have all 7 pictures that you paid for.
Okay,
right? Just a second.
Just
a second. And I think that if you had not had a final written agreement with regard to these negatives,
right,
I would not award you the negatives, because I don't believe it's custom in the industry for a photographer to give away the value of his trade, because that means that you can take these negatives and go into any photocopy store and say, I want you to make me pictures. Well, that's how he makes his money, because $250 for a photo shoot is very reasonable, right?
More than reasonable.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So photographers make their money, professional photographers, over the other pictures that you keep ordering from them. So I think it's unreasonable for you to ask for those. He was supposed to shoot 2 rolls, and from those shot rolls, you were going to select other pictures that you were going to order. In this case, you ordered a total of 11
I even
pictures.
shot extra rolls.
Well, that wasn't said. The said was you'll get 72 pictures, which would be more than enough what you would need for your book. So
I still don't understand why you're suing
And I
him
think
for.
she's suing-
well,
I still don't understand why you're suing him for $2,000. Then we'll get to this watch that you're holding. Is that her watch?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
that's
that's what
another
it is. Cost $2,000. I don't know. I mean,
And
that's
then-
what she-
Just a second. Was that left during the photo shoot?
Yes.
So give it back to her.
and then
Take your watch.
the other incident was the harassment.
What kind
during
of harassment?
The photo shoot, the sexual harassment.
I can't believe this.
That was
All right, so you're suing for sexual harassment. Let me hear. Is that what the
Yes.
money is for? Let me hear.
changing in the room.
In what room?
It was in the dressing room at this house.
I have a
'cause that's-
makeup.
Jump. I'm going to get to you. Go
it
ahead.
was during this shoot that I was changing from the bathing suit to get in this position. He was behind me, okay, grabbing my rear, telling me all these accusations, how sexy, how attractive, ooh, how this looks so good. My behind, grabbing it. That was one incident. This
Just a second. At
photo
what sta-
shoot right here.
Just a second. At what stage was this?
During the photo shoot, toward the end of the photo
Okay.
shoot.
Go ahead.
Okay. During this photo shoot, he told me I had to raise it up more, the dress, put it up or on the side. So he came over there behind me. He did it again, hit me on the butt, telling me again how attractive my butt looked, how good it looked, making all these sexual comments. I was ready to leave. I told him, don't say that, don't do that. I said I was ready to go. Are we done?
Did that happen, sir?
It's total bogus. Let me tell you, throughout the photo shoot, I do make the models feel comfortable, and I do say certain things so they are comfortable. I pose them. I do whatever it's necessary to make him look good, and that's what the pictures are the proof. You can tell. But as far as she said she was ready to leave. She was ready to leave to have. We even said maybe want to go get something to eat. That's as far as I left it at the photo shoot, and that was it.
Miss Fry, I have a couple of questions for you. You did this photo shoot. Towards the end of the photo shoot, you tell me now you believe he sexually harassed you. You stayed, correct? You stayed. Is that right?
But I told him don't do it.
And after the photo shoot was concluded, you got the proofs back, right? And you selected 4 photographs. So far, am I right? And you were satisfied with them, you ordered them. Is that right?
I mean, you should
Check.
see.
Do I look like I need help?
No, no.
Ms. Fry, look at me.
Yes.
You ordered 4 pictures.
Yeah.
And you were satisfied with them. You told them they were very good, and so good you wanted more pictures, correct?
Yes.
If you had gotten your 7 pictures when you felt you should have gotten them, which was a couple of weeks ago, would I hear sexual harassment from you? Would
If
I
I would
hear
have
these
done it?
allegations of sexual harassment from you?
Yes, because they were true. It happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This
How
was
many
the first
photographers have
time.
you been with?
Several.
Really? You seem to be a
Yes.
little bit naive to me on the situation. I'm
Well,
sorry
who
for
are
that.
you? You need to shut up and mind your own business.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Model Tanya Fry is suing photographer Sean Alexander over slides and alleged harassment.
Is what you're saying to me, you planned on suing him whether he gave you the pictures or not?
About the sexual harassment?
Is what you're telling me
Yeah.
that you intended when you left,
Right.
or a day later or 2 days later, whether or not you got these photographs, you intended to sue him for $2,000 for sexually harassing you?
Oh, no. I was not sure of what I was going to do about those sexual
Well,
harassment
what made you
charges.
sure?
I wanted to let them know what was done to me during
What
a photo shoot.
No, what I'm asking you is, at what point did you become sure that you wanted to sue him for this sexual harassment? After you ordered the first set of pictures, before you ordered the first set of pictures, when you ordered the second set of pictures?
The second. That's when I found out that I could not get my slides or negatives when he told me he was not going to give them to me because he keep them for his record.
So you determined to sue him for this $2,000 for sexual harassment when he declined to give you the negatives. Is that correct?
When I didn't get through all of my things.
Very good. Okay, you now have your photographs. Is that correct?
I have some of them.
No, you have all of them. You have all that you ordered, which were the 7 retouched large photographs. And you have the 4 that he originally gave you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you, sir, have been paid $175 for these,
Yes.
and you have been paid the $100 for the other 4,
Yes.
correct? And you have been paid $250 for the photo shoot.
Yes.
Very good. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry, Tanya, but I think, you went a little bit out of line.
No, I did
You
not.
know I did everything
No,
I
I did
could.
not.
You know I did everything
No,
I
I
could.
did not.
Okay? I think the judge saw the whole thing. This is just ridiculous, but I'm glad to solve it. So.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hanley versus Lewis. Step forward, please.
25-year-old landscaper Lawrence Handley says Richard Lewis set his shirt on fire to wake him up. Lewis says Handley had previously set off a firecracker at his feet.
Why in the world would you burn him with a cigarette lighter?
Well, it was kind of a practical joke. I wasn't intending to burn him. I was just intending to make his arm warm. It's just a gag, like a hot foot or something like that.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Tell me how it happened.
We were waiting at my friend Scott's house here. It was after a softball game.
A what?
Softball game.
Softball game.
And we were going to go out for a couple cocktails after the game. A few people were supposed to meet us there. I fell asleep while we were waiting.
Where, in the living room?
Yeah, in the living room, in a chair in his house. I woke up, I felt or smelt something burning on my arm, and I kind of hopped up, and my shirt was on fire. And I jumped out of the chair and, started hitting my arm, and my arm was burned up, and I kind of looked around. I was in a daze. I'd just woken up, and I see him, and actually Scott was laughing too. I see him cracking up right next to me. Sort of found out that...
Did you ask him why he did that?
He basically told me, oh, well, I was trying to, get you or something like that, burn your arm or light your hair on fire or something ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I don't know. He was still laughing up a storm about it, and I wasn't too pleased, so.
You still have a mark there?
Yeah, I do.
Can I see it, please? Step up.
Step up. It's smaller than it used to be, but it used to be about as big as a baseball.
How long ago did that happen?
4 or 5 months ago.
Did you see that, sir?
This is the first time I saw it when he showed it to you.
You want to see it? Sure.
Well, he wants some damages for your stupidity.
Well, Your Honor, it's, in all fairness, our group of friends, when someone passes out or goes to sleep, we play practical jokes on him before. I know for a fact that he's done it to other people, tie people's shoelaces together. That's why I have a witness to corroborate.
Tying their shoelaces together, sir, is a far cry from using a cigarette lighter and setting somebody on fire.
Well, I wasn't
intending
to light him on fire.
At age
That's the whole
27.
thing.
What were you trying
Do you
to
work?
do then?
Well, yeah, I do.
Just
if I
a second.
start acting like I'm 27, I'm going to be 27. If I act like a kid, I'm going to be young for the rest of my life.
What kind of work do you do?
I sell copy work and graphics work to law firms, Overflow.
That's amazing.
Copy work.
That sounds like a pretty responsible position, sir.
It is.
So when do you take on this infancy that you do? Just on weekends?
I like to have fun, in all fairness too. In previous, I think it was last year on 4th of July, he thought it was a cool gag to throw a firecracker at my girlfriend and I, and scared her pretty good. It pissed me off real good.
What?
And, he just laughed it off, and everybody laughed, and, it was funny to him,
Anybody get hurt?
No, but,
I don't even know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about either. He's talking about trying to be Peter Pan for the rest of his life.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's suing you for $2,500 because he said he got burned and it hurt and it got infected.
I have a shirt too, by the way.
Let me see it.
It's kind of
That's
dirty.
pretty scary.
I haven't washed it since then, but
It's pretty scary. Did you ever say I'm sorry?
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
When? Just a second. When did you say I'm sorry?
At the time, we were still laughing, so I probably didn't take it.
Who was laughing?
I was. Scott was as well.
I'm laughing too. $2,500 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please. I'll back to your right.
On the next Judge Judy.
He got what he deserved.
Hey, what comes around goes around. You play tricks on other people. It just so happens.
I didn't throw any firecrackers at you. You're the granddaddy of all liars. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.